Now, how does that sound? All right, sorry about that, everybody. That was not fun. That was not cool. So I had everything all set up. And so what happened was I basically entered the wrong stream. I entered the wrong room, and in doing so, I started another stream that I didn't want to start. I started another stream other than the one that was set up. So that was the issue that I had. So now I've got everything kind of all set. So what's up, Uncommon Cardboard? How's it going, Lee? How are you? Good. Sean Lee Barbs. What's up? Good to see you. All right. So today was another day, right? It was another fun-filled day. It's Friday. And I tell you what, man, these Fridays, these weeks are getting to me. Excuse me. As my phone, yes, Twitter. I did log in to my Twitter account. Thank you for notifying me. So, what's up, everybody? What's up? It's Friday. It's Friday. So here's what's gonna happen. We're just gonna hang out. We're just gonna hang out for a little bit, and I'm gonna go through the it was basically a Twitter AMA, right, from Disney Lorcana. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, they posted about hey, we're gonna have a rules question and answer period. Rules question and answer time. And people came out and they had a bunch of questions, myself included. And we got a lot of questions answered. So let me if I can actually find what I'm looking for and pull up the tweet thread. Oh goodness. See, even that's on there. See, when I went into the wrong room, it just creates so many problems. It's like, guys, I'm live. Just, send it where it needs to go. But no, it's never that easy. All right. And so as we pull this up, so I'm going to see if I can find the tweet thread real quick. Where is so that's the wrong one. Here's the tweet thread. 344 replies, 53,000. What is that? Views? Is that what it is? Yeah, that's views. Man, that is pretty crazy. So let me actually show you this real quick. Let's share screen, window. Do we want to do window? Yeah, we'll do window. So check out that number. Check out the number, guys. Oh no, can you not see it? Oh no, let me go back. Because that's where you could see it. So 344 replies, 68 retweets, 53,000 views. So we're gonna go over that here in a minute. Oh, you know what? I also need to turn that my background on, because I did earlier, but no, you had to reset everything, didn't you? So let's go to chat. Okay, so for those of you who were in there, what did you think? Were there any big surprises to you? Any big surprises? Anything that you were surprised by? You didn't see coming, or you were like, oh, kind of figured this was going to happen. Guys, I apologize. My energy level right now is just like, after going through all that with the stream, it's just it is it is deflating for all intents and purposes. So, let me actually find this thing that I need to find, this link. Where do I find this link? I mean, I know where I can find it. Let's see. Goodness gracious. I had to close literally everything. I had to close everything. I literally had everything set up. I had everything set up. And then it just, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave. So let me copy, paste, and then be done with it. And then I'll be done with it. Oh, see, oh man, I'm just not happy. Oh my goodness. All right, there we go. Let's get that link out there. And then I'll open up. Oh goodness. And see, it just, my setup is so janky right now. Dead air, dead air. I know. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let me pull this up and then we can get going. So let's go to share screen again. Window. Do we actually, let's just do the tab. Let's do a Chrome tab. All right. So here we let me know, guys, if this is too small. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and, does this make it larger for you guys on your end? Yeah, it does. Okay, cool. So cool. So this is what was posted, and there were a lot of people, myself included, were just asking questions because they open it up for questions, and everybody's like, "Oh, I've got a bunch of questions," even though they weren't rules related questions. You know what? And for those of you saying, "Hey, they're not rules related questions," yes, sue me. So what? Eric, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you tonight. All right. So let's go through these. There's kind of like a few here. There's one thing that I'm not thrilled about. And I think it's kind of confusing. Please note that we're answering general game and rules questions, but we cannot speak on future plans for the game. Yeah. Are there going to be ways of dealing with the big board state via action? Are there going to be board wipes? Yes, there's gonna be board wipes. If there's not board wipes, I mean, then there's a problem. If there's not a board wipe, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be board wipes. I mean, I feel very confident. I feel very confident enough to say there's going to be board wipes. Traverse Tavern, which card was heavily debated on the Inkwell question? So this is actually an interesting question. And I think it's an interesting question because it leads to the topic of what's it worth? Like, what's it worth making a card a resource or not? You know, we've touched on this a little bit. Of there's a lot of parts to all these cards. The fact that they're multi-use cards leads to a lot of different situations, scenarios, and analyses of, okay, what's this card in my hand worth? What am I going to be able to do with it? You know, with characters being able to quest for lore, being able to challenge your opponent's characters, and potentially be used for resources. What is all of that worth? And that's hard to answer right now. It's very hard to answer right now because, yeah, we know how to play, but it's not, I mean, I don't want to say it's not in people's hands because there's people are proxying it up, but we don't have the entire card pool, at least for set one. We don't know what the meta is going to shift. The meta is going to shape out to be. And in casual formats, does the meta game even really matter? You know, that's another question. Not really. Because again, like at your kitchen table, what's your kitchen table meta? You know, so costs are always subjective, right? Given the context. So what is a resource cost? Like, what's it cost? What's it worth to have a resource on a card? I mean, it's got to be worth something, right? Because you can't play your cards if you don't have any resources, right? If your cards aren't able to be exerted for any resource, you can't use them for anything. So this is an interesting question. and they answered. I wonder who answered, if it was Steve or Ryan. That's a story for the future. Maybe they'll probably tell us at some point, or if not in an interview. That's a good question. Adara gives us a good question. Can you use a character's ability that doesn't require exerting or payment the same turn they're played? Example: Sorcerer Mickey is played and then a broom is played. Does the broom get the -1 discount? The ability section in the quick start rules makes it seem like no. So this question is basically a timing. I don't want to say it's a timing question, but it really is because with Mickey Wayward Sorcerer, that's it's not a triggered ability. It's a static ability, right? Because when he's on board, I mean, let's actually see if I can I. Oh, wow, that's actually cool. I opened up a new tab in the same window and it's still showing this tab. So I know. Let me just do lorcania.com. My go-to for all the cards. Let's see. Let's find Mickey Wayward Sorcerer just so I can get the verbiage correct, the verbiage exact here. Okay, so open image in new tab. Now, can I just change this? Let me see if I can just change this. Okay, maybe not. I'm going to turn this off for a second, and then we're going to stop sharing the screen, and then we'll share the entire window. We'll do it that way. That makes it easier. So Mickey specifically says, so with Animate Broom, it says you pay one less to play. So that's not that. That's basically it's an always on thing. It's always active. You don't have to do anything to make. You don't have to do anything to Mickey, right, to get that discount. When you play that broom, it's basically always going to be there. All right. So yeah, so it's not a triggered ability. It's not a goodness. It's just a static ability. It's always on. And they say you can't only abilities that require exerting the character can't be used to turn they're played. So it's essentially if you need to exert the character, it's going to be a form of payment. So that's like a form of payment you cannot pay, right? Let me make sure my mouse is over here. This question got asked. Let's read it first. What happens with cards under a shifted card? Like if you let it go, Aladdin, Prince Ali, does a top. Okay, if you let it go, Aladdin, Prince Ali, does just the topmost card go into your inkwell or both? And what if he's returned your hand? Okay, so the question, we're going to go over to the cards again. Okay, the question basically states, what if you let it go a shifted pile of cards? Because when you shift, if you're casting a card for its shift cost, you're playing the card on top of another card, right? A card of the same name. So basically, when that card's on the field, it's treated quote unquote as one card, right? But where that card goes, it's then split off, which again makes sense because it's two total cards in the case of Aladdin. So let me find my stinking mouse. So like here's Aladdin, Prince Ali. So if you have Aladdin and then you shifted the other Aladdin, the Ruby Aladdin, this one on top of the other one. Okay, so you've got two cards there. And then the question was, what if you do Let It Go on Aladdin? So Let It Go states put chosen character into the player's inkwell face down and exerted. So both cards go into the inkwell exerted. So you're basically up to, for all intents and purposes, up to cards into your inkwell. You're ramping 2 resources. So that's the same for basically if you do anything to that stack of cards, the entire stack. So if you bounce them with Cruella, I think it's Cruella. Let's actually find Cruella. Since I'm here, I think Cruella's actually down. Give me 1 second. There we go. There's Cruella. When this character is challenged and banished, you may return chosen character to their player's hand. So if you're choosing a shifted pile of cards, you're getting the entire pile back to wherever. Okay. So, and that question was asked basically multiple times. So again, in the case of Let It Go, yes, you're sending both cards or 3 cards, however many cards it is, they all go there as separate cards. All right. And then like right down here, they even talk about it. They say we've had a lot of questions about shift. So here's how it works. You can play a shifted character. You can play a shift character normally by paying its in cost and putting it into play. Paying its shift cost is an alternate casting cost, essentially. Okay. You are playing the card, you are paying the cost for the card. It's just an alternate casting cost. Okay. So actually, and let me clarify real quick. Let's look at one, like let's go back to Aladdin. Okay. Aladdin is a 7 cost. Aladdin will always be a 7 cost. Okay. Even if you pay 5 for it, it's a 7 cost. It's a printed 7 drop. Okay. So and they do mention that in other questions. You can choose to pay its shift cost to play it on top of one of your characters that has the same name. That character is completely covered by the shift character, so its abilities and numbers are no longer in effect. Any states the previous character had to carry over if the old character was exerted, so is a shift character, and any damage the old character had remains on the shift character. Also, if the old character could have quested or challenged, the shift character can as well. This is basically the mutate rules. I don't see anything different. I don't see anything different. So Alex gives us a question. Do you have any thoughts on the cards being animated with graphics? Doesn't this look like a clue there will be an online version? No, it does not to me. It doesn't to me because those animations aren't really animations. They're puppets. They're puppet animations. It's very simple to do, very easy to do. Which again, especially when you think of Disney, they have an entire animation studio, right? What they did with them is not high end at all, not something a seasoned animation studio would do. Ravensburger likely did this on their own, or they commissioned or they hired it out to somebody else, which again, it's not a lot. Like, it looks good, don't get me wrong, it looks good. I like it. It looks good, it looks polished. It's just, I don't think that points to an online version, at least right away. I think there will be one at some point, but I don't think that points to it. And I've had multiple conversations with animators who do that kind of work, and that's basically what they've said as well. All right. Is there a way to recover a card after it's put in the inkwell? Currently, no. There will be. I mean, that's an easy enough design space. Again, easy enough. Like I know what I'm talking about. I'm not a designer, right? But there is design space there to do that. Okay, Whip It had a few questions. Again, talking about shift. So that one's all about shift. We already went over that one. Are there any other card type plans in the future? So, okay, ask about the future. They don't really answer it, do they? There's always going to be chances for new card types in the future. We will always look at what we think is best for the game at the time. There's going to be locations, guys. I'm calling it now. Until we see them, I'm always going to say that. This is actually a good question from Whippet again. Is there a max hand size despite what I'm able to hold? Can an effect that reduces costs like the one from Maurice stack? Okay, stacking effects like that, I would assume yes. There's no max hand size, though eventually the sheer weight. Okay, yeah. Card effects do stack. So if you had 2 Maurices in play, you would pay 4 less for the next time you play. Cost cannot go below 0. Again, this is just a pet peeve of mine. Okay, it's not a pet peeve. That's not fair. It's not fair to call it a pet peeve. It's my OCD-ness showing through, probably. I'll get over it very easily. Something I'll easily get over. It's going to be difficult for me if I have 2 Maurices in play. It's just not going to make sense, right? Because like Maurice is a specific character, and even like this glimmer of Maurice, like in my mind, there should only be one, at least on my side of the board, right? I don't care what my opponent's doing. It's just, that's something for me. And I think it's just something that's kind of ingrained in my head. It's basically the legendary rule from Magic. It's just really ingrained into me. Again, not a big deal. It's just something that I have to figure out in my head. And again, I say figure it out. It's really not that big a deal. It's really, really not. It's just, to me, again, things have to be a certain way. And when it's not, it just makes it that much harder for me to understand it, if you will. hopefully you understand what I'm saying. But that's just one thing that is just like, I'm not a fan of, but I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, effects do stack, and that's I'm not surprised by. I would have been very surprised if the effects did not stack. That would have been um, very interesting. During setup, it states you did. So this whole thing, they said they're gonna have to talk about this during setup when all these things happen. Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on that, and they even said they're gonna correct it. All right, we've got some people in the green room, so we're gonna bring these guys on, just get their opinion so far, and then we're gonna keep going. We've got Mr. Uncommon Cardboard, Lee Barbs. Lee Barbs. What's up, Lee? How's it going, man?
What's up, my friend? How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I cannot hear you.
Oh no.
Everybody can hear you except me, so give me 1 second.
Okay.
Let me actually make sure I'm sending all of this to the right place. And that should be on stereo. Cool. So if I just go to audio output, we're going to send it to there. Now we should be good.
Are we good?
We're good.
There we are.
There we go. Everybody else could hear you. I just couldn't hear you.
The pleasures of content creation.
I know, right? I know. So, we've got an interesting comment here. Flick68 says you just have to tell yourself that you can draw 2 times the same character. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, that's true. So Lee Barbs, what's your overall thought so far on these? Was there anything that stood out to you so far? Or not really?
I don't think so. One thing that actually did kind of stand out to me, and I really like it, it's that in a shift stack, like all the cards in it go to the same place.
I mean, I don't even think, to me, that wasn't a question. Like, to me, that makes the most sense, because what else would have happened? What else do you think would have happened?
I ultimately think that it was just a question. It wasn't even like an assumption of another way of doing it. So like the way I thought of it was, I guess unless it was specified, they could just get discarded, like the bottom ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that is the way, I believe that's the way it works in Digimon. Is like something can happen to the top card, and then the bottom cards can something like they'll go to the discard independently of what has happened to the top one, I believe. So
okay.
But yeah, like the prospect of potentially putting 2 or 3 cards back in your opponent's hand or into their inkwell, you're gonna have to think about plays a little bit more, and I like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think probably before this talk or this AMA, I think everyone was thinking about let it go from the standpoint of, oh, I'm ramping either myself or my opponent, most likely my opponent or myself 1. Now you're looking at, okay, I could potentially give them 2 or 3 resources.
Exactly.
But again, now then it gets better, because then you can do it to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can
like
do
if you figure it's going to be a target or in danger of them anyway, you might as well gain the benefit of it.
All right, let's bring in. We've got Brad, Mr. Alternate Dimensions, here. Bradley, you ready to go, my friend? Yes, sir. All right, cool. I think he is. What's up, Brad?
Gentlemen,
Brad,
how's it going, man? I like this shirt.
Nice.
Yeah, Dejan will drain you.
My only thing I would mention is I don't think Snorlax will be able to actually fit in your pocket like that.
That's a tiny Snorlax.
I can't either, honestly.
Yeah. That's all right. Neither can I. So, Brad, did you have any main takeaways so far before we continue?
So, I think it was the Illumineers that mentioned this, but apparently, there was one of the tweets that mentioned paying lore as a resource, and their response was not yet.
Yeah, we had I think Jim and I had talked about this like a week or so ago, because we're just like, anything, like the more resources or the more things that can be used as a resource always makes it that much better. And then it was just like an offhand comment. I think it was in our podcast, And I think the question was just posed as, do you ever think that they'll make it so your lore is a resource? And we thought about like, yeah, that could actually potentially be, because if you think about it, your lore is essentially your life total. It's your life
It
points.
is
It's
essentially. I'm a
basically what
black
it is.
player in Magic the Gathering. It's probably my favorite color. So
Yeah.
the prospects of being able to use lore as a resource really excites me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Necropotence and Yawgmoth's Bargain go way back. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I've spent many a life point on drawing cards. Grizzlebrand.
Oh yeah.
Gristlebrand. Oh man. Yeah. Necropotence is like is the big one for sure. All right, so let's keep continuing here. This one here, we knew the can you have two copies of the same card on the battlefield? That was answered in one of our streams. Yes. Again, another question about shift, cabled. Let's see. Will there be some kind of rule that doesn't allow cards to be played without an effect?
This was a good question.
For example, if I announce a challenge, but the only opposing characters are evasive, does my character stay exerted and is wasted, or will it go back to being ready to use it for other things? My assumption is, since there would be, before I read the answer here, my assumption is, since there's technically no legal target, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yep.
Which, and they say you cannot declare a challenge. So yeah.
Exactly.
And that's exactly how it works in Magic. Is if you can't legally make a play, then you can't declare it because it's not a legal play.
Right. So they would roll it back to the last known good rule before the attempt.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I noticed while trying the game that use once a turn a card for the ink in play, you run out of cards fast, and all the cards that draw are expensive. Is simply because we haven't seen all the cards, or is there some rule that we missing, like draw two and not at start turn? Okay. So I initially thought that you would draw two before we found out, but what my initial thought process was, I was thinking about it from the standpoint of a game like Final Fantasy, which a game like Final Fantasy, your cards, you have your back row cards, which you use as a resource, but you can also discard cards from your hand to use as resources. So you're pitching, you are playing cards as resources and also discarding. So you're pitching your hand a lot quicker. You have to refill that quicker.
Right.
So far with this is basically Magic. It's basically the same. It's basically the same thing where it's one resource a turn.
Yeah.
So I was kind of, I don't want to say upset, but I always like to draw more cards. But
everyone likes to draw cards.
Yeah, right. They say you draw one card per turn, and yes, there are many more cards in the set that may shed some light on this question. Who to thunk it, right? We'd also like to point out that you don't have to put a card into your inkwell if you don't want to. Yeah, for those of you who haven't played games like this, like playing a resource is always, or it should always be a choice. If you think you have enough resources to do what you want to do, you don't have to waste. I don't want to say waste a card from your hand, but you don't have to put one down. Not a lot. I guess not a lot of people know that. I mean, again, if you're newer into TCGs,
you don't have to drop, especially if you're playing like a low to the ground aggro deck. Especially when you hit like 3 or 4, you probably don't need to put many more cards in your inkwell, if any at all, for the rest of the game.
Exactly.
Right. But that all depends upon what your game plan is. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you a low to the ground aggressive deck and you only need at most like 5-6 resources per turn? Or are you playing control where you're like, I need like 10, 11, 12 mana per turn? So yeah, that's interesting. So that's, again, as a player, just something to keep in mind. All right, Jared, this was a good question, but you should have used some other cards. It's a good question though, because in this instance, you're not talking about saving anything, but it was still a good question though.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it still works for the example.
So the question is, can I use just in time to shift, say, an Aurora Dream Guardian onto an already on the field Aurora Regal Princess without needing the ink to dry? So, and this was a good question. It was what followed up that his play line, which we'll get into. So the main question: can you shift onto a character that came out of the field this turn? The answer is yes, you can. Yes, as long as the actual cost of the character is 5 or less. Oh, my bad, because we are talking about just in time. Okay. So the scenario is you have Aurora, and I'll pull these cards up here. You have Aurora, Dreamy, was it Regal Princess? I think it's Regal Princess on board. And then you have Just in Time and Aurora, the Shift Aurora, whichever one that is. So Aurora comes on the field this turn. You want to play Just in Time and then put Aurora onto here. Yes, you can. So because I cannot read these cards. Goodness gracious. Okay, so we have the Vanilla Aurora. Okay, it's Vanilla Aurora, and then you have the Shift Aurora, which, let me find it. Here we go. Here's Aurora Dreaming Guardian. Okay, so she's a 5-drop, but also has Shift 3. So the Shift doesn't actually really matter. Okay, and actually, now I'm thinking about it because this is actually kind of interesting. Okay, because this question gets to what does the word play mean,
Yes, it does.
we need to know that, right? So where is Just in Time? I think it's up top. Okay, here we go. Just in Time. Okay, so here's Just in Time. So Just in Time says you may play a character with cost 5 or less for free. Shift 3 for Aurora. You may pay 3 ink to play this on top of one of your characters named Aurora. All right. So we have an Aurora on board, and then we want to play Just in Time. You may play a character with cost 5 or less for free. So you're paying for Just in Time to shift Aurora onto the other Aurora. That works. Yeah. I mean, are you guys surprised that this works or not really?
No.
Considering the way that Shift is worded, no. I was worried sometimes that they use that as a replacement effect, but the way that they have it worded is it's basically you get a discount to play this as long as you play it on top of a card with the name Aurora. I've seen abilities where that would not work, and I'm guessing the way that they had worded this, they had planned for that.
Right. Yeah. So the way I initially thought about it is because, again, if we think about Magic, there's a difference between play and cast, right? There's a difference between literally everything, but with this, it's literally everything just says play, right?
Yep.
So with Shift 3, you can pay this alternate casting cost to play this on top of another card. Okay.
Yep.
Now,
Exactly.
if you pay full cost for it, if you pay full price, you get 2 bodies on board instead of 1 body on board, right? So that's actually another thing that people need to think about too, right?
Yeah,
Is when you're shifting, you only have 1 body on board in play as opposed to 2. So again, when we talk about cost and analysis, that's just something to keep in mind too. So
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
go ahead, Brad.
When I saw that scenario that he put out there, I'm like, why would you just not have the second character on board? But
Right.
that's me going. I'm with a wide aggro player. I want to play creatures.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of people were actually looking at, okay, Just in Time costs 3, Aurora Shift costs 3. You're not saving anything, so you're not getting a better value.
Yeah.
You're not getting any value like from a cost standpoint, right? But again, the reason I thought this was a good question is it does clarify. It clarifies what you can do in the play. Like, how does play interact with shifting? Shifting is still playing a card. So, and there was, oh man, I think I put the question in the Discord, but we talked about specifically like what play actually means, and it's basically when a card leaves your hand and gets on the field. That's playing a card, essentially. So, yeah, I thought Jared, that was a good question because that did give us some clarifications on some things. Another good question. Who's this guy right here? Can you?
Yeah, I don't know who that
is. Yes, you can, and that makes sense to me, right? Because it's the same name.
Yeah, just needed some clarification. I was hoping it would. Absolutely.
Yep.
I actually think that's kind of interesting because down the line they could have something like, you talked about the mutate mechanic for Magic, where depending on how many times somebody's been shifted on, maybe it gives some sort of ability later.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's great
Yep,
design
there you
thinking.
go.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is the effect stacking.
Yep,
Can Cheshire Cat banish a card with ward with its effect? So with Cheshire Cat, so the answer is its ability doesn't use the word choose or chosen, so it's not affected by ward. So again, guys, for those of you who haven't played a lot of TCGs, read the card, right? This is
Reading the
not
card explains the
correct.
card.
Reading the card explains the card. So if we look at Cheshire Cat, and this is not a dig either,
No.
because I in all of my experience, there have been many questions that come up that really would be answered if you just took the time to slowly read the card. Because
Yeah,
I've
you
been
gotta really absorb it.
yeah, because I've been very guilty of it too. I just read the card and I go super fast,
Same here.
and I'm like, wait, what? So Cheshire Cat says lose something when this character is challenged and banished. Banish the challenging character. So since it does not target, and again, chosen for where I'm looking for. The verbiage in all other games that I've been used to is has that been target,
Yeah.
that targeting verbiage. So we've got another question here from Alex. Do you think there will be alternate art similar to Pokemon or One Piece? What alternate art would you want from current cards? All right. My answer to that is yes. I think there will be. I'll get back to you on what alt arts I'd want to see from current cards. You guys think about that too. But also, what do you guys think? Do you guys think there will be alt arts?
Absolutely. I think there will be. It's too easy not to do.
And as much as the foils are pretty, I live in the South and humidity curls the crap out of them. So I prefer alt arts.
Me too.
You mean like this?
Yes.
Yeah. The pain.
I got a store full of them. I'm like, I have to run a humidifier all the time.
Curling grum gully right here that I'm trying to flatten out.
Man, dude. Yeah. Yep. All right. Is there a way for two players to win simultaneously? None currently. Stealing mechanics. Yeah, none, because we haven't seen any cards like that. Yeah, because again, right now the only way you can gain lore is on your turn. There's no ways for you to gain lore when it's not your turn that we've seen. This one right here. Okay, I answered this question too. When a card gets put into the inkwell on my turn exerted, such as with one jump ahead, is the ink usable on that turn? It would be if you can untap it.
Yeah, if you can unexert it, sure.
Because
I'm sure we'll see that eventually.
But they answer because the ink is already exerted. No, if the card was put into your inkwell not exerted, then yes. Okay. Additionally though, I think which we haven't seen ways that can ready cards in your inkwell outside of the ready step, then you'd be able to use it. That's my assumption. Can you
that makes sense. It's not like ramp spells and that, which will basically,
which is one
that are not TCG, that they're new TCGs. Ramp is where you go when normally you would play one resource a turn. Ramp will can get you additional resources a turn and ramp you to a higher card on following turns. But
yes.
Even Magic doesn't do a lot of they come into play untapped. They do sometimes, but it's kind of rare because they don't want you to accelerate too fast.
It depends on what format you're playing.
Yeah,
it depends on what format you're playing.
Once they learned their lesson, you know.
Oh, back in the day, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, back in the day, everything was untapped. But yeah, as they got like now, most ramp cards are they come into play tapped. But there's plenty of both. There's plenty of both. Depends on, and that will dictate how expensive the card is. Can you mulligan on the first game of a match? You can alter your hand. Okay, right here. They don't say mulligan. They say you can alter your hand before each and every game. Which again, which is normal, very normal. I just find it interesting. The Lorcana team has yet to use the word mulligan. They haven't used mulligan. They've specifically said alter your hand. Yeah. Why do you guys think that is? Do you think that's because they're trying to do you think they think the word mulligan is for lack of a better word, non-accessible? Like they think it's easier to understand? What do you think?
certainly could be possible. I mean, you know, I happened to have played golf before I got into TCG, so I happened to know what a mulligan was. Um, but uh, that was the only that's my introduction to the term. But
Right, right.
yeah, I could see that using that for particularly for the younger players.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of an abstract term if you don't like you're not in the know. So yeah, that makes
Right,
sense.
right. And that was kind of my thought. So I don't think they answered my question here. But Artem thought it was a good question. It's not a rules question, my bad. But other people asked it too. Eric asked a good question. Are there more keywords in the first chapter? Gonna have to wait and see. Yeah, there's gonna be.
Yep, that's a
Wait,
cheeky way of saying yes, sir.
yeah. Stacking, we got that. If you play
Everything
Let It
stacks,
Go,
guys. We figured that out today.
yeah, we got that one. Does playing a shift character count as enters play? Yes, it does.
That's
Okay,
good.
so
That is
that's
good
a good question. That's actually a very good question. So let's actually look at Stitch real quick.
And that makes sense because of the wording again on shift. It says you can play this for this much
Yeah.
instead. So I like that they're being very consistent with their wording across it.
They do. The only thing. Oh, let's actually look at this first. So, Stitch's ability states whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less. Okay, you may exert them and draw a card. Okay, that makes perfect sense because it does specifically say play. The only thing that I think about is it doesn't leave you much room down the line, or it could, unless for them to open it up, because there is a difference between there could be a difference, I should say. There could be a difference between playing a character and a card or a character entering play, right? So the way that I'm thinking about it is again, everything that I see, I'm thinking about it 10 years down the line. Like, where could this game go in 10 years? Like, from a design standpoint, right? So for me, I'm like, if you don't separate those, these are the same thing, you're constricting yourself from a design standpoint. Again, this is from the standpoint of somebody who is not a designer but a consumer and a player of these games. So that's what I think. I could be way off, I could be way wrong, but that was just my initial thought on that. But what do you guys think about that?
The only thing I can think of here is they may be using the word play as in you have paid the cost to put it into play. Whereas if they wanted to use a different term for, like, say returning it from the banished zone or the discard pile into another zone, they may come up with that term later. But yeah, it's interesting the way that they worded shift and how that has played out, and even just in time as well. So I have to wonder if there's a conscious decision on why they did that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I mean they've been very consistent. It's consistent across the board, which makes it easier to understand.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, you would do that to me, Acrobat. Why do you got to be? So I'm pulling up the quick resources right now. Dude, Adobe Acrobat is insane how slow this is. Are you kidding me? Wow. Give me the yeah, exactly. The Owen Wilson wow. So okay, they touch on, and let me see if I can actually pull this up here. So we're gonna turn screen sharing off, but then we're gonna redo it. Share screen window here. All right, here we go. All right, so playing a card. Okay, nope, right there. Playing a card. So playing a card just means taking it from your hand and putting it face up on the table. That's not. Hang on. Each card has an ink cost and a hexagon in the upper left corner. To play the card, you must exert that many cards in your inkwell. So that first sentence isn't isn't very specific or exact, again, in like ways and terms that I'm used to. But I
Mhm.
mean, it's informal, shall we say. To me,
Right.
that's an informal definition. And for what I'm looking for, and I think a lot of people are probably looking for this, a glossary of terms of specific definitions of what specific terms mean, which would be the last sentence. To play the card, you must exert that many cards in your inkwell. But I don't know. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
I would be interested to see the accumulated rulings document
Right.
for and I've been a judge at several games
Right.
and a TO, so
Right.
yeah, I'd like to see that document for those nitty gritty little. Hey, this is what this is.
What do you think, Lee Barbs?
I mean, this is just the quick play guide, so I mean,
Correct. Very true.
I like we'll for sure get something. I think we'll get something. I mean, I guess we could get this folded up in the starter decks.
It
Just this
confirmed.
exact document.
Confirmed. This is going to be in the starter decks.
Okay, there you go.
Yep.
So something like the big book that comes in the trove may dig deeper and have better wording for that kind of thing, or like a PDF probably will get released. Is there a judge program? Have they spoken on that?
I don't know. I haven't
Not
seen
that
anything.
I've seen.
I haven't seen anything. No.
I mean, I would assume with their them wanting to have a lot to do with organized play, that's probably a plan at some point.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I would assume so. But I'm I'm like way past the I'm just gonna assume it's gonna happen,
Right.
Speaking of assuming, so the Lorcana team did tweet. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before, but basically saying experienced TCG players and collectors, stay tuned.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that this AMA wasn't the experienced players stay tuned thing. That's what I'm hoping, but
I don't think so. This didn't.
I don't think
hey,
so either.
experienced players.
I think there'll be more in depth of that. I'm sure.
I would assume so, but I'm more like in the next week or two,
Right.
They got to get through the two shows this weekend with.
Well, isn't Gamma next weekend or is it this weekend?
Gamma is Monday and Tuesday.
Gala's in
Gamma.
like a couple hours.
Yeah. So
what was Gala?
It's in France. I know that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an open to the public gaming convention. That my understanding, and so yeah, they will be normal people will be able to go to that, and then Gamma's Monday and Tuesday. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's going to be hopefully we're going to have trickling of information for the next 4 days.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, so let's continue. If mini quest and Moana readies mini, can mini quest again in the same turn? This is my favorite response. This is basically read the card, my guy. Moana says they can't quest anymore this turn. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. It's funny. Jacob, yes, I did. And here, funny story, Jacob. Okay. We were actually recording the unboxing and then it didn't record the right way. I was really upset. I do have, Jacob, I'm going to go over these actually later. I do have all the bombshell cards right here. I was going to go over those with my overhead cam here. So yeah, I do just want to show those off to people just so they can see them. So yes, the answer to your question is yes, I did. Okay. I did like that response. That's kind of funny. All right. In a tournament setting, this is a good question. And
Yes.
this is my big pet. This is where it's at. In a tournament setting, what information are players allowed to record? I have seen a lot of people asking if the inkwell is public knowledge. It is. But can banishment and other zones be tracked? So they answer this with players are allowed to look at the cards in their opponent's discard piles. Inkwell cards must remain face down and cannot be looked at by any player. Okay, I don't like this. I don't think it makes any sense. All right, and let me lay out my case and my opinion here. So, in order to put a card into your inkwell from your hand, they have stated you have to show it to your opponent. Okay,
Right.
so you have to show it to your opponent to verify it's an inkable card. Makes sense. So it goes down into your inkwell, your resource zone, face down. Okay. Now there are other effects like one jump ahead, okay, which state put the top card of your deck in your inkwell exerted and face down. You don't get to look at it, right? So again, you should know what that card is, that's going into your inkwell. Like I would recommend knowing it, but there's going to be ways where you don't know what it is.
Sure.
You're not allowed to know that information. That I can understand, but the cards that you have to put into your inkwell face down, it's already public information because you have to show it to your opponent. So
Right.
because you have to show it to your opponent, and by definition, that is public information. And so now they're saying when it goes into your inkwell, nope, that's not public anymore. That is now a secret. Nobody's allowed to know what it is. That makes it more complicated because I have to, as a player, as I'm playing, I have to track what cards are there because it matters. I have to know and figure out and calculate the odds of what my opponent is going to draw in their deck. That way I know, okay, if I know they're playing this deck, typically they're going to run 2 or 3 Mickeys, for example. Well, they've already used 1 Mickey there. They've got 2 left in their deck or type thing. So like if you didn't have to show the card to your opponent to verify it's inkable, then it makes sense to me. But because you already have to show that card to your opponent, why are they saying, I don't know. To me, it's public information, but they're saying it's not. I don't know. I don't like it. What do you guys think? Again, I'll get over it, but
I'll get over it.
I'll get over it.
So the only thing I can think of, and again, this is more nitpicky from a judge side of things. The only thing I can think of is the accidental or intentional confusion of somebody looking at the cards that they put down in their inkwell face down and somehow swapping a card in those zones. I know it's not completely, it's paying attention is definitely, if you look away for a minute, and a couple of seconds and it could be swapped.
Right.
And the more often that you're picking those up and looking at them, there's more opportunity cost there. That's my only thought there.
Sure.
Now, do I think you should be able to write something down?
They don't. They didn't say you're not allowed to do that, right?
I don't know if they may have said it in another post.
Yeah, we'll look and see. We'll look and see. But if they say you're not allowed to do that, that's like.
Yeah, I think you should be able to at least note it. It's like, okay, it's like 8 Mickey, so it's the 8 cost Mickey,
right?
Something like that, so that that's been inked. And if if something comes up later and there's not an 8 cost Mickey, that's another thing too, from a judge perspective.
Right.
At the end of the game, I know in other games, particularly, I know Magic specifically, morph cards that you play face down on the table.
Yes.
You have to reveal those at the end of the game to prove that they were a morph card. So I have to wonder if that's not. You have to turn over all your ink at the end of the game. Obviously, some are going to get hit there that actually can't be played as ink because of the.
Because there's multiple effects that allow that. Yeah.
But if you've written those down and it's like, oh, his 8 cost Mickey is no longer in that zone.
Yeah. What do you think, Sean?
I don't know. It doesn't really bug me too much that you can't look at them, and I do agree it's technically public knowledge because everybody gets to see it aside from the one jump or the Mickey ramping you. So I mean, it'll be all right, I think, and I think their only real rationale behind not being able to look is I think, like somebody just said in the chat, even honestly, is because of the cards. Like they don't want you to know, and I don't know the rationale behind it. They don't want you to know if the one jump card you had come in or the Mickey card you had come in or the other ramp stuff will eventually get, I'm sure. They don't want you to know if it was or wasn't. And that's the only thing I can think of. Whether that's even a good enough reason, remains to be seen.
And that makes sense to me. But the only The only thing that that's stuck up for me is they're saying it's not public information when it is. It
Right,
literally is
right.
public information. It's
That's
like
bad.
yes,
It's bad
yes,
wording.
it is.
Yeah, it's
That's
absolutely bad wording.
that's what sticks. That's what sticks
Yes,
it to me.
I'll
If
agree
you
with you there.
can't do it, if you can't, that's fine. Like if that's the rule, all right, that's fine. It is what it is. But if you're saying the reasoning is because it's not public information, public knowledge, I mean that's literally not true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But like I said, I'll get over it. It's fine, you know. So the question that you were speaking of, so Flick 68,
Yeah.
I think it's because there's some card that no one showed that are put in ink. So how can you know that this one has been shown and that one isn't? Basically, the one jump thing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
what I
there
took
are
from that, yeah.
there are stuff like that. Eric's got a good question. Is there a rule about how many podcasts Sean can be on? I don't know. Sean, are there?
As many as I can handle. I love it personally.
Which is why he has his own podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Which where can people find your podcast, Sean?
You can find it on Spotify. It's Uncommon Cardboard. You can find the Glimmer Gang podcast there as well.
Yeah, and go listen to the best episode of Uncommon Cardboard with Dan and Jim. I don't know what episode number it is, but
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll tell you here in a
he's
second.
looking for it.
I am. I literally am looking for it.
All right. When you shift a card, does damage carry? That was answered. Eric says he's been on both. Oh, very nice, Eric. Eric, remind me, you are an editor for the gamers. You're an editor for something.
The Gamer.
Somebody,
Yep.
it's the Gamer, right? That's what
he
I thought.
actually put out a really great article today that had a lot of points that some of us had missed even that had watched it. It's a really great article.
Okay, I'll have to find that.
I think I bookmarked that one so I could remember it to go back to it.
So this was a one that went live today, you said?
Yeah, shortly after
the AMA.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So let's see. All right, we're here. It wasn't mentioned on the condensed rule sheet, but is there any kind of end phase or cleanup step? Or does it go straight from your main phase of your opponent's turn? There isn't a cleanup step in the typical sense. Effects that end at the end of the turn stop. All right. So just when you say you're done. Which makes sense. I don't really because there's persistent damage. I don't really think there needs to be. I haven't seen any cards where it would lead me to believe we need something like that.
Yeah, with no instant speed effects, it's not really necessary in a game like that.
Right. Will all the card will exist in foil and non-foil? And what's the difference between a regular foil and a promo foil? Each card in the set also has a foil version. We'll be talking about promos later on. We've seen a couple. This is the one that I saw where they talked about the inkwell. Yeah, neither player can look at them. They're not public information. It's like, but they are. I commented on this. I was like, was this question only referencing effects like one jump ahead? Cards that you're putting in your inkwell have to be shown to your opponent to verify it's inkable. Wouldn't make the I said it nicer. Is there any mechanic like Magic's legendary rule? I already answered that one. When I play a card using shift, does it keep the again same answered? Moana. If I use Moana to untap my princesses after they've quested and I have a second Moana on board, then challenge those princesses and quest with my second Moana and untap my board again, plus it untap the first Moana, and could they challenge again? You can challenge again, yeah. Yes, you can ready those princesses as many times as the effects allow. Only limit is they can't quest anymore that turn. So if you want to quest with them, you'd want to do that first.
Yeah, you can just keep running them in, depending on how many Moanas. You can just keep running them into your opponent's characters.
Right. If I shift Rockstar Stitch on top of another Stitch, do both stay on the field? Yes. Yeah, they both do. And if they were to target this card with Dragon Fire, both be banished. Yeah, both would be banished. They both stay on the table, though the previous Stitch is completely covered up. Yeah, it's mutate. It's mutate, but the only card that matters is the card on top.
I almost think that the ability to me that Pokemon Evolutions, that's the one I think of, because on Pokemon Evolutions none of the abilities
Yeah.
or traits of the other version transfer up. Now, there was a special case they had at one point, but all the damage transfers, everything,
Right.
whatever. Now, it cleared all special conditions, which is a little different than this. But other than, I think Pokemon Evolutions is probably the best description of, hey, it loses everything under it.
Mm-hmm. Alex asks, building a deck. It's a minimum of 60 cards. There's no maximum size, and that's. I'm sorry. I don't like hearing that the dumb Yu-Gi-Oh. The dumb Yu-Gi-Oh one. Like, just stop with that. Like, it's just crazy to me. It is crazy to me that actually happened. But again, I think the reason you could do that with Yu-Gi-Oh is just because of the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh. Of there's not a resource system in the traditional sense of resource systems, right? You get to play. I think it's like you can play like one card or something a turn. I've only played Yu-Gi-Oh a few times. Jim's the Yu-Gi-Oh guy. So it wouldn't work. That deck would not work in a game like Magic. Oh, geez. Oh, boy. We've got Jonty. Jonty's in the green room, and he literally comes in, guys. Okay. And he just sends us a message. I have something to say. I have a lot to say.
You always have something to say, Jonty. I love your voice, my friend, and I can hear you talk forever, but you always have something to say, my boy.
Oh, man.
I don't literally shut up either, so
Most of us don't. Most of us are pretty good at talking.
Right. I had no plans to come and join you tonight.
But
because I was working. I've just finished working. And I want to try and do my own video on the Q&A stuff. So I got out. So I was going to catch up with this tomorrow, but then I put you on in the car on my commute home, just listening, not watching. I'm a sensible, safe driver, and I have notes.
A sensible thing.
All right. So okay. So if you've taken notes, we're gonna stop where we're at. So what do you got? What do you got for us, Jonathan?
Okay. So first of all, Daniel, you stated earlier. I put it to you.
This is great. This is great.
You said earlier that one of the questions was if I try and challenge a character and I can't challenge them because maybe they have evasive or something like that, and I haven't realized, does my character stay exerted? And the reply is, you don't even exert it. Like you can't begin the incorrect challenge, right?
Right.
Is that how we understand it?
Essentially, yes. Yeah, correct.
Like it's
correct. Because it's not legal. Yes.
You said that's just like Magic, and that is not how Magic works. You can illegally target something in Magic.
That's true.
You can't not on Arena. You wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't be able to do it in Arena.
Okay. So I target something.
You're right.
I target something to kill it. In response, they make it hexproof. I am now targeting something that can't be targeted and it fizzles.
And that is a very, very different scenario. Very, very different.
Or I can target something that is untargetable because a separate ability on the card triggers. This happens a lot in red card draw, because very often red card draw comes as a secondary ability on something. Yeah. It will say something like target creature gets blah, 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 draw a card. And sometimes just to draw that card, you will have to target something that is not targetable. The spell just fizzles, but the second thing takes place. So it is slightly different to Magic.
In both cases that you've mentioned, each instance, that target is a valid and legal target at the time you are making the target.
All right. Next point. That was only a little one. But the other one was you were just talking about actually about not being about the inkwell not being public knowledge.
Yes.
I will first of all I will say that it's weird. It's weird.
Okay.
And with a game that's aiming to be so accessible, it is weird to say that you cannot look at that. But again, there's quite a bit of precedent for it still. And again, I will reference Magic. If you play a card, I can't think of an actual card off the top of my head, but I know full well there is something that says, look at the top three, reveal the top three cards of your library, put a land from amongst them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of the deck in a random order. Something like that.
Yes.
Can either myself or my opponent then go and look at those cards on the bottom of my deck?
See, that's a good point.
They're no longer public information, but they were once they were revealed.
Right, because they're in
same.
Right. No, correct. You're exactly right, because it's in a zone that is not public information and public knowledge.
And but when you were saying like, oh, but the Inkwell is public knowledge because we've seen them go in there, but that's arguably the same as something going in back into your deck.
That's a good point.
But I don't get it. but it's no real difference as something going in your deck.
That is a good way. That is a good way to make me understand it and make it make sense. There's a way for it to make sense. That's a way to logically explain it, I think.
All right. I'm out.
Is that it?
No.
That's it. Mic drop.
No, I'll stick around for a bit. That was good. But yeah, go on, carry on. Resume.
All right. We talk about the deck. Let's see. What is this? What triggers happen in what order? Imagine playing a magical broom, which has an on-play trigger, in a field with Rockstar Stitch, who has the when a blank card is played. You choose the order in which you resolve your triggered abilities that trigger off of the same event. That makes sense to me. I've seen it happen that way in other games.
Yeah,
it's good that like it's spelled out, but makes sense.
Yeah. All right. If I want to use Shift to play Hades on top of a character named Hades that's different colors, is that a legal play? I don't see why not. Yeah. 2 questions about colors. First, do cards need a specific ink color to be played? I mean, there's only one resource. It's just ink in general. So that would be my assumption. Or just a specific amount of ink. Second, will there be any generic cards with no color that can be played in any deck? It is just a specific amount of ink. Color is more about deck building. We can't really answer right now about generic cards with no color. They didn't answer that with a winky face, so I don't know.
They didn't, but the fact that they didn't just say no, it's worth putting it. So we need like a list somewhere of like
just in the background, hanging out,
things they didn't outright say no to, right? Because there was a few in this, and I would argue that for people like us who are a little bit more invested in this, and you were right, Dan, by the way, about people coming to this at very different levels of their knowledge of the game, and you should respect that. But people like us who are heavily into this, like this, it's almost the stuff they didn't say is more interesting than the stuff they did. Right?
Uncle Jasper's article has at the end, it has a good collection of all of those. Like, gonna have to wait and see, winky face, and he's got a lot of those at the end of his article.
I'll have to check that out. All right, the King Elephant. Though I saw somewhere where it said setup requires a minimum. Answer that question. Can 2 lanterns stack? Yep. Organized play. This is kind of interesting. Will points for teaching someone or bringing a friend be able to be redeemed multiple times? Or is it the first time only? You only get the points the first time you bring a specific person. If you bring more new people, you get the points. The same goes for teaching new players. That makes sense to me. John T, what do you think? What do you think about that one?
Yeah, like because basically they can't like Bob and Bill can't come in every week and say, "Oh yeah, Bob's teaching Bill tonight," and then next week, "Oh yeah, Bob's not quite up on them, so Bill's teaching Bob if that's okay." Like just to get the points. That makes sense, right? It's not teach a friend, it's bring a friend, right? It's get a new person into the store. That's what you points are for.
So Jim, yes, it pays attention to the card that's on the bottom. So you are able to shift on top of a card that entered that turn, but if it entered that turn, it still has. We are still waiting for the ink to dry. Trying to get out of saying somebody.
It just absorbs whatever status the card below it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the one I'm struggling most with. Like terminology wise, I'm getting most of them. Some of these sequences are really tricky ones to get rid of, and I think it's just because there isn't a neat replacement, right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, thematically, I love the theme. I love the theme, right? But it's just there's no 2 words, and that are alliterating, right?
I don't want to say it's ink sweat.
Yeah,
like, I just don't want to say it. I'm not comfortable looking at a grown man across from me and saying, "My ink's still wet."
Yeah, Yeah. What's up, Kohler? How's it going? Good to see you tonight. Yeah. We'll time will tell. Time will tell if we'll get something. Somebody will come up with something. All right. Seneth, if I have two Aurora in play, will with their effect, do they protect each other? I would assume yes. Yes, they would affect each other. If I have a Coconut or Stitch example on play and I use Shift, it counts as a play card or heal. I would assume it does. Yeah, yes, it counts as playing. And again, this is going back to what is playing a card. They've been pretty. John T, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Playing a card.
I was listening to it on the way in. It's fascinating because we're almost trying to overcomplicate it.
Yeah,
and they are just like, yeah, you play a card. You can either play a card onto there, or you can play it cheaper with Shift. And if you play it, and something says when you play a card, that happens. Like it's just. You're right, because I myself am coming from a Magic background and playing a card and entering the battlefield and casting a card are all three different things.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
And I do think, I think you're right, Dan, in saying that. I think what happens in 5 years, where we're going into new design areas, there probably is going to be a difference. If we end up making like tokens or something, if we end up generating characters. Not through playing them from hand, there's going to have to be terminology for it, and it's going to have to be separate. Like we can, say that we're generating a smudge or something. I don't know. They're going to have to come up with a way of saying it. But as it stands at the minute, if a card comes out of your hand and goes onto the board, it's playing, and everything that applies to it applies to it. If you've got two coconuts out and you put a Stitch on top of another Stitch, then you get
a good one.
4 life, right?
Yeah. Eric says there will be a new summoning mechanic called Sketch.
That's a good one.
Good.
That's
really
Sketch. Good.
Yeah.
And it's just like you generate a token. Sketch an image. Yeah, that's good.
So Kohler, yes. Disney. Well, Ravensburger is making a Disney TCG. It's a physical TCG. So my assumption is the reason Ravensburger is doing it is because of Disney Villainous and the success that they had with that game. And Disney wanted to partner with them to do a TCG. So it's the Disney license. Disney license. I mean, Disney themselves wouldn't do something like this because they don't make even their own games. They're not the ones making their own games, except, well, hang on. Disney Interactive was that in-house Disney? That was in-house Disney.
I think it was definitely sort of more umbrella than a lot of other stuff. Those CD-ROMs.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I don't get that. What is this level of desperation? I don't know. They wanted to print some money.
Exactly.
Bank account?
But no, seriously, yeah. But in all honesty, Kohler, I think Disney saw how successful and how much money that was made with Villainous, and it was a good game. Like Villainous is fun. Like I've got a lot of videos on it on our channel, and Disney was like, you know what? Who wants to make more money? Let's do a TCG. Those seem to be doing very well.
And like, look at Magic. Like, since the time frame of when they started designing this, it's been making money hand over fist. So why not get in on that cash?
Right, exactly. Okay, let's actually talk about this question right now. This is actually a good question from Alex. What is one lesson that you wish Lorcana would learn from other card games' mistakes? Oh man, this is interesting. Well, so I said, and I still think this is correct. The resource system, I had said like it's an elegant solution to the land system and resource cards. It's a mix between that and every card's a resource. So it is kind of, quote, every card's a resource, but it's only certain cards. It's more cards than, hey, there's specific resource only cards. I do think that's an elegant solution. It's just the whole public that's completely separate. But I think that's one area where they're kind of learning from Magic and kind of what not to do type thing. So that's one thing that I think. What do you guys think? I know this is like an on the spot type thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of one that's really going to stick. I know that I think some of the other podcasts have brought it up about perpetual damage and trying to track all that, especially if you have a messy board state. It's a little, Pokemon, you only have so much bench space. So there's only so much damage to go around. But that's the only thing. Other than what you said about the system, about the mana system. I've played enough different CCGs now. It's, I've seen a lot, but that's the only thing that I've heard people that have questioned this. Like, okay, we got to track all this with dice, and obviously, I think they said in one of the questions, there's not a limit to board space or cards in hand or anything of that nature. So
you're not limited to 250 tokens on your board at one time.
Unless it crashes.
Yeah. Well, John T, what do you think? You looks like you want to say something.
I hope they don't. I agree with Steggy in the comments. I hope they don't power creep too much. It's a very the problem with power creep is it's a necessity because the new stuff has to be cooler than the old stuff, else people won't buy it. So power creep is a thing. You can kind of offset it by just generating new mechanics that aren't necessarily stronger, they're just different, and perhaps work with some older stuff. They sort of new mechanics can sometimes bring older cards back into the meta because they're suddenly more interesting. So that's tougher game design, but if you can do it, that's great. Try and keep the game itself simple and have the complexity come through the cards and how they interact with each other, which I think is something they definitely seem to be trying to do. Yep. The game itself is very simple, right? Like there are 3 or 4 core mechanics and they happen. Where the complexity is coming from is when the cards themselves break those mechanics, and that's good. Somebody there says set rotation. I don't mind rotation personally. I am a standard Magic player. I actually quite enjoy the idea of rotation. I know a lot of people don't, though, and I think if they do develop a rotational system, it needs to come with a Eternal or Legacy format, whatever you want to call it, where stuff is still available, even if that does end up being wacky because of the larger card pool.
And that's not something they even have to address or talk about right away, because we've got, like, at least with Magic, is that 2 years, a year and a half, something
rotation.
Like
no, it's every September.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. But what's legal? What's legal is over how long?
So
like, what is that?
So every September, the oldest 4 sets drop off. So at any point, it's between sort of 4 and 9 sets ish.
That makes
sense. With supplemental releases,
depending on which of the supplemental sets still qualify as standard.
But 9 sets is about 2 years, isn't?
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah,
roughly.
Yeah. So every September, the oldest ones drop off. So it's not. It's a 2-year cycle, but it's
correct.
So Lorcana would wait 2 years to drop the first year if they followed that same cycle.
Correct. If they followed something like that. Yeah. Jim makes an interesting comment here, which I agree with, and I think I need to point it out real quick. He says, don't overprint cards like Yu-Gi-Oh! There's so many copies of cards. What he means is specific cards. So like Fire the Cannons. We have Fire the Cannons in set 1. We don't need to see Fire the Cannons in set 3, in set 5, in set, like in each and every single set. Right. That's what he means. And I tend to agree with him.
So yeah, I agree. That they shouldn't keep reprinting stuff. Would you be okay with in set 3 we get a card called I don't know. Raise your swords, deal 2 damage to target character.
For how much? For what's
For
the cost?
it's the exact same mechanically.
It's the exact same mechanic.
Yeah. Is that better? Is that worse?
It's the same. I think it's neutral. I think it's neutral. I don't think it's better. I don't think it's worse. I think it's the same.
But specifically with Fire the Cannons, it's technically worse because the Captain Hook wouldn't be able to get it, I guess. But
Right.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
No, that's true.
I
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
Yeah,
I think
a good
it
point.
could be technically worse because now you've got 8 copies you can put in your deck.
of the same spell.
Right.
Of
The same
yeah.
spell.
Yeah.
The
So
same
that
spell.
helping with consistency, which also can be a more pain for the metagame to deal with.
Right. Yeah, and Jim says the same thing because now you can have 8 copies of the effect.
Mhm.
Eric points out Professor's research. I mean, how many times has that card been printed? Yeah,
I still have my
lot.
OG 4s from the
Yeah.
base set 1. So yeah.
We should make this up. So,
But then also, I think once you get to a certain lineage, reprints are actually quite welcome. Then, right?
Yeah.
Like I know in Magic is really the only game I play to the level to know this kind of stuff. But you know, when Monastery Swiftspear was reprinted a year ago, everyone went crazy. You know,
Yeah.
so
Well,
Yeah.
Digimon has been suffering from this for a little while. They have been in desperate need of reprints, and I believe their next set is a reprint set. Either it's the next one or the one after is a reprint set. Not the entirety of it, but a lot of much needed reprints are happening. So they are needed for the ecosystem of the game, but you don't want to print a
True.
card to death.
correct. It's a line. There
Yeah.
is a line that needs to be
Yeah,
balanced.
got to walk that tightrope for sure.
Correct. So,
So
Yeah,
I
and
imagine
like
it's
even-
this one. Sorry, with Digimon, it's called Across Time, so that
Yeah.
suggests it's some reprinty stuff. I don't know. It
Yeah.
came out today. We've sold a load of
Hey,
it.
see,
I don't
there you
play it
go.
myself.
There
Yeah.
you go.
So like reprinting specific cards often particularly with Magic, they tend to do some because there are people that want to play limited formats. They reprint certain effects constantly. 2 mana, 3 damage to a creature, or planeswalker, or something of that nature. So there's like 4 or 5 different cards with the same that does the exact same thing, or very close to it.
right.
Right now, we don't currently have a limited format for Lorcana, but sounds like they are working on one.
They
So
are
we
working
may-
on it.
So we
Right.
may see some selected cards reprinted in certain areas to keep limited fun, but I'm okay with that as long as it's not let's reprint everything every other set or every set or something like that.
Real quick, I got a question. So one of the things that gets brought up in a lot of discussions regarding card games is the concept of dual color cards or tricolor cards, multicolor cards. Okay. So do you guys think we'll ever see anything like that? My thought was, what's the point? Like, why would we even, like, what would even be the necessity to, maybe not even necessity is probably a bad word to use, but what would be the reason to see something like that? Because in the context of the game of, it doesn't really do, because with the resources, it's just one singular resource. So like, why would we see something like that? I don't know. What do you guys think about something like that?
Yeah, it doesn't work in Lorcana because the only thing where ink matters other than like thematic archetypes is in the deck restriction of having 2. So if you print a dual color card, it instantly can only go into one deck.
Yep. It locks other decks out of that.
And once
card.
you're playing the game, it doesn't matter. So no, I don't.
Well, I do think I think from the standpoint of, yes, you'd only be able to play it in one. No, you'd only be able to play in two decks.
Oh, so are you saying that you can ignore the other color?
Yeah. So basically,
I didn't understand that part of
you
it.
could say you could have so let's say it's a blue-red card. Okay, Sapphire and Ruby. Okay,
It
that
could be
could
both
your
or
only,
either.
Correct. It could be your only ruby card, and all your other cards are sapphire.
I see. So you
Or
could
it
build a
could be
sapphire
only-
emerald deck.
Correct.
Or a ruby
Correct.
steel deck, and this card can
Correct.
go into either of them.
Or
Okay.
Or have a
So
restriction
you're
of
kind of cheating
or,
the 2-color
correct.
restriction.
Or you have the restriction. You make it a restriction of this card can only go in sapphire emerald decks type thing.
Right.
You know, you could see
So
something
my
like that.
only thought here is we're dealing with ink and creating creating glimmers. You can't mix the colors and come together.
Just a new
Be
color,
brown.
yeah.
It's just going to be brown every time.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they bring in a 7th type, and it's just dirty paint water color,
Or it's all black.
So
Yeah.
thematically, that would be very difficult. From that standpoint, but
I think maybe in the future some form of colorless card, that can go in anything, I think is possibly more likely, because that's basically the same, almost the same kind of build space.
Right.
It's just because the color differences is just very different in this game to others. You know, it's just
right.
Yeah.
All right, let's catch up. Let me catch up on some chats here. We've got XX Pandemonium just joined the stream. I've been loving the content. I'm a new sub. Thank you so much. No, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And Brad, you may know be into this one. Has anyone tried LCG games like from Fantasy Flight, like Game of Thrones, Legend of the Five Rings? We've done some LCG games here on the channel, Lord of the Rings. Brad, you were talking about Legend of the Five Rings a little bit ago, weren't you?
So yeah, so I've tried some LCG games, and if you're playing them more as a casual setting, more of the one, a lot of them, like I don't remember. I don't know if L5R has a multiplayer mode unless it was one of the specialty boxes. Mm-hmm. I know Game of Thrones, you could play multiplayer. They had a special format for that.
Mm-hmm.
But as a 1v1 game, and this is where they ran into issues, was they had problems with those 1v1 games and the hyper competitiveness of them, which was a big issue for them because of the card designs and the space that they used.
Right.
More of the LCG space that is a little bit easier for more of the casual fans. Plus, both of these are no longer in print as far as new content. The ones that they currently have in are all cooperative or single player mode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
like Lord of the Rings, Arkham Horror, and the Marvel Champions is the other one. Those are the three.
Those are three big ones.
Yeah, there's the three big ones that they're doing in more single player co-op modes, which are kind of fun.
Right.
I didn't care for their version of the LCG of the Legend of the Five Rings. The Game of Thrones was quite neat.
Yeah, I never got around to playing Game of Thrones, unfortunately. So, all right, Sean's got to get out of here. Sean, final thoughts, my friend?
It was nice to get a lot of these clarifications. It's going to clean up the discussion boards a little bit. You know, there's not going to be, oh, does this, does that. And I think it solidifies the mechanics of this game are pretty solid.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll chat a little bit later, Sean. Thanks for hanging out with us, my friend. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Have a great night, boys.
Take care.
Sean. Can I just before we move on, can I just say, because I'm a pedant and this is going to keep me up at night if I don't point it out.
Yes.
The comment there said, "Have you played any LCGs like from Fantasy Flight games?" LCGs are only from Fantasy Flight games. LCG is a registered trademark of Fantasy Flight games.
Yeah.
That's all. I know it's a pedantic little thing, but it's the sort of thing that I genuinely would lose sleep over if I didn't point out.
To be fair, you're not wrong.
I'm technically right, which is the best kind of right.
You know what's funny? The funny part of you bringing that up is I remember when Upper Deck relaunched the Versus system.
Excuse me, don't you mean the Versus system to BCG?
Yeah. So its original name, when they tried to do the preview box at Gen Con, I was there that year.
Oh, you were there.
That
Did you see them take it down?
I don't remember. I don't think I walked by that booth again, but I saw the name of it and I was like, "Well, that's very neat." Then I realized, "Oh crap, that
They
is."
can't do that.
I don't know. I think they had to stop selling the preview ones that they had at the booth because of that. Somebody had said something and they're like, "Oh crap."
Yep. So what Brad's talking about, we actually talked about this in one of our podcasts, where we talked all about LCGs. But that year is when Upper Deck announced and showed off Versus System. They originally called it the Versus System LCG, and they had to take down all of their signage because it said LCG. And so they had to make something up on the fly. I don't know if they just wrote expandable card game or if they just put 2BCG on like a sheet of paper and then put it up. Because they were about to get in they're about to get in a lot of trouble for that one.
I really wish I'd have got a copy of one of those. Like I said, they had a small preview set, which some of the cards that they had in that original set were playtest cards that they were trying to finalize for the next year.
Right.
And I don't think they had some of the old cards from the original CCG back in the day. Because they shifted to only doing Marvel at that time.
Only doing Marvel. Yeah.
And now they've shifted to other properties, which is very neat.
Mortal Kombat and the boys. Mortal Kombat.
I saw that. I was actually kind of interested.
I
was actually kind of interested in that.
I need to pick up that box. I've got everything else, but the Mortal Kombat just dropped a couple of days ago. So Eric says clear ink maybe says colorless seems possible. Steggy says I think we'd see colorless cards over dual color cards. I would agree with that. Eric then mentioned 3 decks. Then so Kohler talks about the World War II card game cards. It's going to start having a rotation, but they're doing it in a way where cards taken out go into reserve and are able to still be played in a de facto historic mode. But they said they've set up front that instead of reprinting the cards, which again, when you are talking about a card game like Cards, which is digital only, there's a lot of different ways to handle that as well. Jim says mono mud.
Yes,
pretty good. I like that. Yeah, mono mud. Pandemonium. What if the restriction is like trait based? Like this hero can't be in a deck with Dreamborn or villain characters. That's interesting. I wonder if we'll see something like that on some cards. Like you can't you like this can be this
like
can be
they're
the
really
only
strong,
hero.
but they can't go. I'll be honest with you, I did worry when we saw the first 6 cards. Like me and the guys at the store were chatting about it, and I said I really hope it's not you have to build a hero deck or a villain deck, because all of the cards were either hero or villain, right? I was like, I really hope you don't have to do that, because and especially if they'd have gone as far, which some games have gone as far as being like heroes can only hit villains and vice versa, because then you get 20 people turn up with the villain deck because that's currently the strongest one, and nobody can play each other. And
I like this, Rashid. Stagnant watercolored ink. That's very good. Yes.
You just tetanus shot before you start playing.
All right, we got a good question here. Carlos, do you think Marvel Star Wars are off the table? They are right now because they have announced that this is only going to be Disney Animation Studios properties that they're going to do. That does not mean they're off the table for future releases. So that's what they've said up front right now. I don't think they're really talking about Marvel Star Wars. Do you think we'll eventually get there? Because it is kind of weird because, like, we just talked about Versus System. Versus System uses the Marvel license. And do you think we'll see? And there's other card games that have used the Star Wars license before. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't think it's in the pipeline right now. And I don't think I think it's years away, honestly. But if this game does well, continues to do well, and gets over the sort of difficult year 2, 3 hump, and pushes into more of a consistent release schedule, I think it would be ridiculous to think in 5 or 6 years, it isn't this shot of adrenaline that something like this needs, right? Like
no.
it's money
Absolutely
printing,
no doubt.
right?
Mhm.
They do probably
No doubt.
Pixar first because it's probably the easiest to tie in, the easiest to work out.
I think we would see. I think we'd see Pixar. I don't know if we'd see Marvel and Star Wars. Eric doesn't want to see Marvel, Star Wars. I don't know if I want.
And that's the other thing.
I don't know
for
if
every
I don't want to, but
yeah, for every person who's really into it, there's going to be somebody who really doesn't, you know.
Right.
And maybe their solution is it's like the exact same game, but just like they've done with Villainous, you can't mix Disney and Marvel together.
You've got a different format.
Yeah,
you've got a Marvel only.
And I wonder if maybe they just do that. Maybe they just do, you know, it's basically the same game, but they don't cross over.
This is something I don't agree with. I think we will see Kingdom Hearts before Star Wars. I don't think so, because in order to do Kingdom Hearts the right way, you would need to incorporate Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight. Final Fantasy. I always do that. Holy cow! Whenever I talk about Final Fantasy in a video or a podcast, I say Fantasy Flight, and then whenever I always say the opposite. Oh my word, that's crazy. So I don't think we're going to see Kingdom Hearts because Square. I mean, they would be the ones needing to get the license from Square Enix, and I don't know. I don't know if that would even be a thing. Final Fantasy even really, but it is. Like Square Enix owns Kingdom Hearts. They're a big part of it. So I'm pretty sure Square Enix is going to be the one who has the final say, because they were the ones using the Disney properties to put into their game. So I mean, I know Disney was like all the Disney properties could only look a certain way. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, honestly, I'd love to see it too, because I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. But anyway, that's right.
Just want to go put that there. Rashid said, from my understanding, Disney owns Lucasfilms. George Lucas still owns everything else. No, George Lucas does not own Star Wars in any way, shape, or form. He owns stock in Lucasfilm. Yeah. His name is still added to credits as a nice thing to do, but he has zero financial or creative input into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Saying that,
which is so sad to me.
Well, you know, he took the check, right? Like he signed the paperwork.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I'm sure he was crying all the way to the bank. But
was it $4.4 billion at the time?
Was it? Was that how much it was?
It was several billion. I don't remember if that's the exact number, but that's been what 12 to 15 years ago.
2012, I think.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Oh, 11
But
years ago.
even though Disney own it all, that's not why it's easy or not to make it happen. Disney owns Marvel.
Hang on, did he really get $2 billion in Disney stock?
Oh, I don't know about in stock. Like he got paid so much, and now he doesn't have Disney.
He doesn't have to work
stock.
for the rest of his life. I mean,
yeah, I think
his kids don't have to work for the rest of their life.
Oh yeah, and the rest, right? There's a really great interview with a guy called Noddy Holder in England years ago. He was a glam rock singer who did some really good rock music back in the day, but had a big Christmas, like cheesy Christmas #1 song, right?
Okay.
And it gets played every year still in England, and every year it comes on the radio, and everyone hates it. And it's and somebody did an interview with him once, and they were like, "Do you feel bad that that's what you remembered for, and not the other good, actual, solid rock albums you had?" He said, "Partly I do, but then it's bought all my grandkids a house." So that's kind of how you have to think about this sort of thing, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
The reason I wanted to say that is that Disney, even though Disney own all of Star Wars, obviously that doesn't make it easier for them to license a card game with it. Right. Disney owns Marvel, yet there is still a Marvel area of a theme park in Universal Studios, and they continue to have it and will continue to have it because of how it's all to do with people who are much cleverer than us, right?
Yeah.
Who deal with that sort of stuff. It's an absolute mess.
Third-party licensing is a pain.
Oh yeah, and it is a billion, a lot of billions and billions of dollars in licensing. Pandemonium, wasn't it like really hard for Nintendo to get Sora in Smash, and Donald and Goofy were not allowed in that game? That is correct, because Disney did not want the image of Mickey, Donald, or Goofy getting into a fight with other characters. Like literally, they did not want that associated with their brand. So Sora was the only Kingdom Hearts character that was allowed to be in that game. But yes, that it was that was a nightmare from everything that I heard. That was very difficult.
Yeah, and that's why this game, there's no mention of fight.
Yep.
There's no mention of
Yep.
damage.
There was an article when I think it was when the Star Wars villainous game came out. There was an article, I don't know if it was, I think it was in Polygon, but they were talking about like how they had to get away from using the K word like in the games, which that's true. It's a thing. All right, let's get back into this here. Do songs allow you to exert characters that have just been played? No, characters cannot sing the turn you play them. So characters can't pay that cost, because that is a cost to be paid the turn that they come in.
Which I think that's an interesting one. Like, I think we already knew that, but that's an interesting one because like I said, they've been very consistent with their wording, and the rule is that this is the rule unless a card says otherwise.
Right.
And I would argue that a song says otherwise. The song says you can exert a character to play this.
I think the major difference between an ability like Stitch's ability, and which says you may exert this to draw a card. They have exert written out, and on a song they have the exert symbol.
All right,
I think that's the major difference.
Let's look. All right, so let's look.
It.
So we have here's Stitch.
Yeah.
Whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may exert them to draw a card. Yeah.
And then the other one we see is Hercules. You can see how Hercules is written because he's allowed to be exerted on the turn he comes out.
Let's look at Hercules. Hercules. There he
That's
is.
where I was going.
Open image. Bodyguard. This character may enter play exerted. All right. So he's entering play exerted,
which is different, right?
Which
and
is
if
different.
Stitch said that, like Stitch could have said that, right? Like if you play a 2-cost character, they may enter play exerted.
They may enter play exerted. Yeah. And then we wanted to look at either one of the songs, if I can find them here. Here's Let It Go. I make these bigger. Let It Go. A character with cost 5 or less can. It doesn't say exert. It says
it's the symbol.
It's the symbol.
Yeah.
And I think that's
the symbol point. And also the can there as well.
Yeah.
Like it's basically short form for if it can exert for this. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So and Jonty, did you say this? Because Jim thought that he says 100% that's how I read the song as well. Songs cost get around exert. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought it was. Well, no, not that that's what I thought it was, because they were very quick to say it. But what I was saying was that everywhere else, a card's text beats the rules.
Yeah,
and so this one doesn't. But it's worded differently enough that I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah. So again, looking at Adoring Fans, whenever you play a character, you may exert them. So yeah, the difference there is the literal use of the symbol.
Yeah,
because it just says
I think the symbol and the can is what's different. But Stitch says when you play, yes, but that to match for this to be more in line with Hercules, it could say whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may have them enter play exerted.
Here, let's actually do this. We're gonna do this. Okay, and then there's Let It Go. Okay, so if you cannot. All right, let me do it like this. I'm sorry. We're gonna reshare it so we can see both. Let's look at entire screen. There we go. There's 3 different ways. There's 3 different ways I can share a screen.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. So looking at Stitch and Hercules together. Whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may exert them. So it's stipulating on 2 things: playing a character that costs 2 or less, and then you may exert them to draw. Yeah, so that's.
But why may I exert them? They can't be exerted on the turn they enter play, because the card rules override the game rules. which
Yes.
is fine. That's how these
Right.
things usually work.
Right. Correct.
So why
correct.
does the card rules on a song not
Right.
override the game rules?
Right. Right. A character with costs. Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very interesting.
The only thing I can that I can come up with is, at least in my experience with Magic, they specifically printed abilities that say, like let me think of a good one. Springleaf Drum.
I love that card.
Yeah, so it's tap an untapped creature you control. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And it's worded without. It's got a tap symbol on the card, and then it has an additional cost, tap, and
Correct.
It does not have the tap symbol for that.
Correct. So anytime with Magic, if you see that symbol, they have to be able to you have to be able to tap them. Like they can't have so many things. But if it says that tapping an untapped creature, you can still do that.
And the only thing I could think of is, since both of these gentlemen have worked on Magic and a few other Wizards properties, that they have taken that wording specifically into Lorcana so that they can design certain things a certain way as long as it's worded a certain way.
Right. Yeah, Jim makes a good point here. It's cost versus effect. One's a cost, one's an effect. Like it's trying to identify which is which. Like which is the actual cost, and who are you paying it towards, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's right. Like I'm interested to see the 30-page PDF that will inevitably come out with all of this, to really spell it out for us. But
exactly.
The judge in me said that earlier. I love
Well, exactly. Everybody who's like, all right, who's got that judge mentality, right? All right, we already talked about that one. When a card like Yzma tells you to look at the top card of your deck, do you reveal that card? No, you don't reveal it. It would specifically say reveal. Like it's like every time I talk about Yzma Alchemist, Yzma has 3 lines attacks, which could very easily just be 1. Wizards doesn't own the trademark to Scry, do they?
It's not Scry. But no.
It is.
But it's not. Let's have a look at it.
So yeah. Scry is look at the top.
Scry 1 is look at the top card of your deck. You can put it on top or bottom of your deck.
That's what Yzma does?
Yes. Let's look at it. Yzma. Whenever this character quests, look at the top card of your deck. Put it in either the top or bottom of your deck.
Sorry, yeah. What am I thinking of then? Oh, I'm thinking of the develop your brain. One of them has
develop
to
your
go
brain.
on the bottom, so it's not quite Scry, is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't think they do own Scry, but Scry itself comes from what's the card that Scry comes from? Scrying something?
I can't remember. It's been a while.
Most of those keywords in Magic come from the first card that did it, right? And it's something scrying. I can't think what it is.
It's not Sylvan Scrying.
Scrying sheets?
Because I know Sylvan Scrying is a card.
No, that's Scrying sheets.
Scrying sheets came afterwards.
Yeah.
Carlos asked, would you like to see Toy Story in Chapter 1? We're not going to see Toy Story in Chapter 1 because that is Pixar. We won't see anything. We're not going to see anything from Pixar until they say they're going to do Pixar, because like they've stated, it's only going to be Disney Animation Studios properties right now. So Carlos, honestly, if you go back in this stream, we talked at length about this. What do you think about Ink not being public information? I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is. We had a nice long discussion about it. So, but yeah.
So yeah, just going back to Scry, I can't find the first card that's Scryed. It's something like Scrying something. It's called. I'm sure it is.
Right.
And they do that a lot, right? Like Mill. What else? What's the one that's Scry, but rather than the bottom, it goes into the graveyard?
Surveil.
I'm pretty sure that was a card surveilling something or something.
Yes.
Do you reckon we can see any of them already in Lorcana? Like, do all the mirrors? What? Because there's a couple of mirrors. Do they all do the same kind of thing?
Yeah, both mirrors right now draw cards.
Both draw a
so-
card. One looks like JMA's tome, and the other one is like shoot. There was one, if your hand's empty, draw a card. Fool's Tome, I think it was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But do you reckon we'll ever see like in 10 years will a card just say mirror 1 or something like that, because that's where they come from, right? That's where a lot of these
Oh,
terms
yeah.
come from.
Yeah, I see what you're
Right.
saying.
So
I see
I'm
what
wondering
you're saying.
if mirrors are the cards
what
that
you're
let
saying.
us draw, will we eventually have draw a card become mirror?
Right.
Maybe not draw a card because that's
Right.
pretty simple, but these sort
Right.
of more convoluted things.
Right.
You know?
Right. Okay, this was actually a good question. We saw a card like Lantern that, when exerted, it makes the next character you play cost 1 less. Does it count towards shift? Cards that allow you to pay less ink to, quote, play a card also allow you to pay less to play that card using its shift ability. So yes, again, this just goes back to what is the definition of the word play mean. So
Yeah,
that is consistent.
that's great. That's huge.
Yeah.
That makes it even better, right?
Yeah. No hand limit. No hand limit. We went over that. Gain.
I don't know how much you guys have tested. Has the possibility of a hand limit ever even been an option or worry for you? Like, I feel like every game I've top decked.
No,
That's what I'm imagining it's like. That is exactly what I'm imagining it's got to be like.
We played a few games tonight at the end of the shift with some 60 card proxies. And
what percentage of the card pool do we have so far? 40%, if that, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, see, we've seen 60 something cards. I think we've seen about a third.
Yeah, maybe just under a third.
Maybe a little under a third.
Yeah.
To effects from different copies of the same card stack. Yeah, there's a lot of the same questions. This is a good question. There's a rule that states a player is only allowed a max of 2 ink colors in their deck. Will players be required to confirm their ink colors prior to starting a game? So, like for competitive, no, we don't feel that's necessary. And again, this is just me in my experience. I've never seen that actually be a thing outside of like digital card games where you come with 3 decks and your opponent bans one, picks one to ban up front. Have you guys ever seen something like this?
No, I don't think so. Because the answer is, as soon as they play something that doesn't fit, it's illegal, right? Like it's the same with like a commander deck. As soon as they play a color that isn't in their commander's colors, then judge call, or if it's not at that level, you
okay.
Like,
so this tweet right here perfectly sums up what we were just talking about. How do we distinguish which type of player card effect can exert a character in its played turn? So the turn it is played. Obviously, Stitch Rockstar can, and the song cannot.
There you go.
So they say here, a newly played character cannot quest, challenge, sing a song, or use its own ability that requires it to exert. Other effects that exert it can be played.
Okay.
So other effects that exert it.
Yes.
So there's a difference between the other effect exerting it and then you exerting that card to pay for something else,
to do a thing. That's fair.
Yes.
Unfortunately, like, if that question gets asked in 2 years, that's going to be a longer list, and that's not necessarily the neatest sort of way to describe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a newly played character cannot quest, challenge, sing a song,
Eric,
paint a picture, generate
I don't think this is correct, Eric. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong here. But he says if you get a few Rockstar Stitches out and start playing cheap cards in an Amber deck, you can get a big hand real fast. I think if you have 2 Rockstar Stitches out and you play a 2-drop or whatever, you can only exert it to draw 1. You wouldn't be able to do it twice because part of the effect is exerting it to a thing. So you only have 1 outlet to do that. You wouldn't be able to do that twice. Is that correct?
Unless you have a way to untap it, as far as I know.
I don't know.
I
don't know whether the Stitch card requires you to exert it, or whether the Stitch card sees it being exerted.
Yeah, let's actually look at that because I do
again
have that
until we, and that's these little things are still what we're not 100% on.
So it says whenever you play a character with, so that's
Mhm.
step 1, playing the character with cost 2 or less. Step 2, you may exert them to draw a card. If you can't exert them, you
No, okay,
won't be
so
able to draw a card.
so you
That
play a
would make sense to
character.
me.
You play a character of cost 2 or less. You exert them
Yes.
to draw a card. This Stitch sees you doing it, and the other Stitch sees you doing it as well.
No, that would make sense.
That's what I mean. I don't know whether or not the Stitch requires you to exert it for the ability, or Stitch sees it being exerted for the ability. It's a subtle difference, but it matters.
Yes, it does. It makes to me it makes sense that you have to exert it to get the effect, and not it see it. That's what makes sense to me. However, it can go either way.
But I don't know.
Very much can go either way.
That's a good point.
Correct. But that was actually that was a good point. All right. Can lore victories be taken away or used as a resource? Aladdin Heroic Outlaw does currently make opponents lose lore. Used as a resource has not been seen yet. I don't think.
Stick that on the wall.
I don't think.
I'm ready for it.
They need a not yet button. You know, like the that was easy. They need a not yet. Not yet.
Or the flesh and blood button. Ship it.
Yeah, ship it. Yep. I don't think we'll see it in the first set. What do you guys think? I think we'll see it eventually, but I don't think in set 1.
Yeah, just the fact that they're open to it is obviously something they've been playing around with, because I think otherwise they'd just say no, and because who's going to call them back on this tweet in 4 years? So it's obviously something that they're playing around with, but I don't feel like it's a set 1 mechanic.
No, right. I don't think so, but it'd be very interesting, especially I think it really fits in Amethyst, so it would be very interesting to see that.
I just want to see more Emerald cards. I want to see more Emerald. That's what I want to see.
We need more Emerald and Ruby.
Yeah.
We don't have enough.
So game piece, you exert the low cost, talking about Stitch, and then he says this effect circumvents the rules. But again, again, back to what we were saying, is it that Stitch sees it, or you have to pay that cost to the Stitch? So there's two ways this could potentially play out. Because if you have to pay that cost, the exert cost, you can only do that one time. So it's a question that needs to be answered at some point. This is an interesting one when it comes to a point where the game requires a ban list. Like, will there be a reason? Will there be reasons given for the decision? Like the Digimon TCG? I would assume so. If we ever got to a BNR, there would be. I would hope we would see something. But that's well down the line.
The game's not even out. They're not going to be talking about that sort of thing.
No,
but I can't think of a game that doesn't give you a blog post about what they're banning and why they're banning it, right?
Right. How much will different magical inks matter? Aging has their own mechanic and thematic feeling, which I'm going to do a video. We're going to do a video on that because we have a good amount of cards and basically all their statements of what these colors are supposed to mean, which is interesting. Does a character with bodyguard have to be exerted in order for that ability to activate? Yes, that is correct. We talked about this one.
That's gross, by the way. I managed to get that in a game tonight. 2 Auroras out.
Yeah.
It's painful.
Well, because right now there's no way to do it. There's no way to deal, and that's literally the statement. So, okay, I have been on record. I am on record saying there was going to be a legendary rule specifically because of effects like Aurora. But again, we don't see a card that we don't see a board wipe. We haven't seen a card that says make them sacrifice something. Everything that we've seen is specifically targeting. And then if you just don't do anything with your Auroras, well, you can't do anything.
Yeah, I just got 2 Auroras down, and then I'll just make sure I've got enough. Ink, and then just swing it all. Yeah, it's kind of gross.
Yep. Can you use just in time on a shifted Stitch? No, Stitch's cost is 6. So this is a good question. So just in time, you may play a character with cost 5 or less. And I think I talked about this at the beginning of the stream. But if you look at Stitch has a printed cost of 6. Yes, shift 4. That's an alternate casting cost. His printed cost is 6, so you would not be able to do just in time.
So this is the difference between mana value and converted mana cost, right? Like that's
they're the same. They're the same thing. Mana value and
But there is a way of differentiating those two things in Magic, and I can't remember what it is now. But
no, they changed. They just changed the name. They changed the name. It used to be called Converted Mana Cost, and then a couple years ago, they just decided to replace Converted Mana Cost with Mana Value.
Right.
It was literally the same thing. They just stopped using the term Converted Mana Cost.
But then if a card has like a cheaper alternative cast that you pay,
that's not the mana value. The mana value is still the CMC.
Right. So that's the same as that then, right? It's the mana
correct.
value is always 6, no matter how cheap you make it to play.
Correct.
It's still
it's 6. It's always looking at printed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Can you challenge a character when it's not on your turn, or do players always get to quest at least once before they can be challenged? You can only challenge on your turn, but it's up to you, the player, to determine what you're going to do to exert that character. If you don't quest with the character, that's your choice. You are choosing to do something else when you exert that character, essentially. But you can't do anything on your opponent's turn yet. I don't think there's going to be anything like that. Is there a card that maybe now or future can reduce an opponent's lore? Can you have negative lore? No, your lore cannot get below 0. Good question. Can you have copies? Again, did that one. Stacking, did that one. What? Hang on. When a stack of cards. Okay. When a stack of cards goes to the ink, will they count as 1 ink or as 1 ink each? Each card has its own ink. So if you let it go, shifted characters, and there's 2, that's 2 separate ink.
It makes Let It Go not as good, or makes shifted characters better. You want to
or
see
makes Let It Go better if you do it to yourself. If you do it to your opponents, it's not as good. If you do it better,
you're right.
It's all about the context and how.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm sure with more cards it'll make a difference. If you are being able to play something, shift on top of it, and then need to let it go, both of them, to get 2 more ink. I don't know what you're playing. I don't know what that deck is right now. Like, it's not a deck right now.
Right.
But yes, it is a possibility.
But
Turbo
again, what'd you say, Brad?
Turbo Maleficent is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But what are you having to ramp into?
Yeah.
That needs you to kill your Maleficent.
I mean, I'd just rather let it go on my opponent's turn, but on my opponent's stuff. But
Yeah,
I get it.
It is interesting though with the whole concept of shift. Like, what's a card actually worth? Like, again, we talked about shifting on top of a card. You are effectively getting 1 less body on board, right? So instead of having 2 characters, you only have 1 character. So it's going to lead to some interesting decisions. I think
getting them out early, like the water aurora out earlier, can really affect the board. I haven't played with the Shift Aladdin yet, but I imagine getting him out earlier is really quite powerful, especially onto a warded creature that just, I imagine that's pretty strong. The other ones, I'm not so sure.
This is a good question. I did answer this. If your deck reaches 0 card, you lose game. Yes, there is milling. So, and it's basically, did I put this here? I think I might have actually responded to this. Yeah, it's right here. If your deck runs out of cards, you lose. The next time you would have to draw a card.
To be fair, I didn't even know that was in there. That's
yeah.
I thought that was clarified today.
Yeah. Carlos, yes. Can you shift a shifted card? Yes, you can. As long as you're shifting on, as long as that card you're shifting on top of meets the requirements, then yes, you are able to do that. What is this? Carlos, Pandemonium. Imagine a beast character that can shift a bunch of times to beast in human form, and you end up with a 4 stack or something. That'd actually be interesting. Like, you have beast in his beast form and then his human form. That's interesting. That's kind of cool. Both copies have shift. I like that. That's interesting.
It would, and we were talking about things like mutate before, where while it may pass, the mutate passes abilities, but the other doesn't. But like, maybe if it's been shifted onto it, it gets a bonus if it's been shifted onto other version, which would be neat. Which would be neat for Beast.
The only thing I'm a little surprised with Shift, maybe not surprised, maybe disappointed is the word. I thought maybe the lore would stack.
Ooh.
And that's because there's the risk. Personally, I don't know whether the risk reward is quite in the favor of the player right now.
Right.
The fact that you're technically making 2 targets into 1.
Right.
So I thought maybe, and the fact that they were like the lore is on the right hand side, and there's even those little sort of the little triangles to sort of show you where it. Like I really expected to see shift cards sort of stack over like that, and
Right.
your bonus is that they quest a little bit higher. But I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does. I do wonder if we're going to see that in like a certain card, right? I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot there. Mushu asked a pretty good question. I thought, if I have a 3 ink character in hand that is reduced to 2 ink and played on the board while stitched, do I get to draw a card?
No.
The cost was not reduced. You were able to pay 1 less in order to play it. Its cost is still 3 and does not qualify to be a fan of Stitch. I like how they answered it. It doesn't qualify to be a fan of Stitch.
Yeah.
And I think that was why they used that particular wording where it says it costs 1 less to play, or
I think it even says you may pay 1 less.
May pay 1 less.
Yeah, the actual cost doesn't change.
Right.
So that way it doesn't affect the cost. I guess similar to just in time.
Oh man, I just thought about doing Mickey Wayward Sorcerer. So Amethyst and Amber. So the brooms with Stitch, you'd be shuffling cards from opponent's discard into their deck and drawing cards, and then getting them back and then doing it again.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
It's good. It's a difficult board state to get to at the minute currently. To get a Stitch and a Mickey down and then start getting the value out of the brooms is pretty tricky.
Right. Okay. Good question here. Is a card that dies challenging another offensively considered quote banished in a challenge? For example, if I have a Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer and a Magic Broom Bucket Brigade in play, and the broom challenges an opponent's character and dies, does it return to my hand? They say yes. Banished in a challenge triggers whether the card was the challenger or the challengee. Wow, I never get to use the word challengee. Is it a word? It absolutely is a word. If it's not, we're making it a word right now. That was a good way to describe it, actually.
Yeah.
Challengee.
Yeah, because there's differences, right? Like Cruella and Cheshire Cat both need to be challenged.
Yeah.
Well, the first one that I thought of was Hook. Like literally one of the first cards that a lot of people were talking about. Where's Hook? Here we go. So challenger +2. When challenging, this character gets +2. I assume that is when he is challenging.
Yeah.
Actually, is it when he's challenging, or is it
it's when he is on the offensive. But, you could argue that both the challenger and the challengee are challenging. The action they are both taking is challenging, but yes, it has been. This only applies confirmed when he is on the offensive. Yeah,
understood. That
because otherwise he would just be a 3/2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I think I can't remember the exact term in the World of Warcraft TCG, but they had an ability that did the same thing. It only worked while attacking, or in this case, challenging, be the offensive.
Right. And there's stuff in Magic that says when attacking or when this character attacks.
Yeah. But
which does not trigger if it enters play tapped and attacking.
Yes, that's it. The attacking trigger is separate to it actually attacking. Yeah.
Has this been answered? Carlos asks, do you see this being a best of 3 format in competitive tournaments? Has this been answered? I think it is. They did say it's best of 3.
I mean, we don't know what a competitive tournament is for Lorcana yet, but yes, it was in the Game Trader magazine that it's a best of 3 format. Yeah.
It was in that. It was not in this Q&A today.
Right. When can Cruella what can Cruella target when returning cards to hand? For example, can she target cards in the discard pile? Can she target herself? What happens to the online characters? So we already answered the shifted. You can only choose a character that's in play. Since she was banished, she's not in play. You can't choose her. If you choose a character that was shifted, both cards go to the player's hand. Is the fairy and Hook's lantern? Go ahead.
She
Jonathan.
can't she can't choose something with Ward, right?
Right, correct. Because
I think it says chosen.
I believe it says chosen.
And if it does,
when this character is challenged and banished, you may return chosen character to their player's hand.
Ward would protect.
So chosen is what to Lorcana, what target is to magic. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yep. And then I would assume, since it doesn't specify a zone, it's basically the battlefield essentially.
Yep.
Let's see. Are there any plans to add interactions on opponents' turn? They're not answering that. Lumiteers. Come on. I'm just kidding. Multiplayer. So did they answer anything? No, they didn't. This is a good question, SCG. This is a good question, SCG. I don't care what Conti says.
It's not a good question at all. They should know better.
But these are questions I want the answers to. I doubt they even responded. And I don't know if they responded to anything else. This might have been.
They are good questions. The reason why I pointed out that this was a rules thing was because I was thinking it might give them a chance to go and actually come up with some rules questions for them. But yes, they are good questions. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about the lore, but I'm sure lots of other people would like to know.
Yeah, the one thing I am curious about, the Floodborn, like that's the one where I've been like pretty interested in. Everything else just seems seems to make more sense, like within the context of Disney. But the whole Floodborn is just really the Floodborn is like seems very new and very relative to the game itself. So it's
I'm interested. I suppose I'm interested in it from maybe more of a mechanical point of view, really. But I'm interested in the lore in that. Like I think we're seeing some of the lore in the cards. Like there are certain cards that specifically mention the fact that they're in Lorcana. I think Elsa mentions something about being in a strange new world or whatever. I wonder whether like we see the art for Ariel. She's holding some sort of trinket with one of the lore symbols on it, and obviously the lore symbols flow through. That Detective Mickey talks about seeing seaweed. That's a weird thing for him to find on it. Yeah, the flavor text is seaweed, which is a random thing for him to find on a street if it isn't part of some larger kind of thing, right?
Wherever the seaweed had come from, Mickey was sure of one thing: something fishy was going on.
Right. So I wonder whether, I don't know if you guys have played Mirrorverse.
Not in a while,
but the first bit of Mirrorverse is Maleficent gets to this new place and she's like, oh look, this new power, let's go. So I wonder maybe we'll see something like that, because the other thing they've said is that all the cards are going to come from the Disney Animation Studios canon,
right?
So we can't have. I personally don't feel that the narrative can have a bad guy that is the lore catcher, because how is that going to be shown shown through the game, right? So I do wonder if they'll go the Mirrorverse point of view, where the bad guy is in the Disney canon, come through and try and then become the new sort of champions of Lorcana, and the bad guys there. So we might see a narrative revolved around Ursula or something like that. I don't know. That kind of interests me a little bit, but all the whole like, you're pulling glimmers at you, but I'm not. I don't care. I'm not interested.
Oh, okay. So the one properties that I would love to see are the animation studio, the TV animation studios, like Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles.
Oh yes.
Those. What'd you say, Brad?
Oh yes. Darkwing Duck. But besides Darkwing Duck, DuckTales. Chippendales Rescue Rangers. I'll even throw down some Tailspin in on it. That whole 90s block was
Bradley, you are speaking to me. Oh man, I love Tailspin. Oh, just brings me back to those Disney Saturday morning cartoons. Oh man, so many good ones. Those are the ones I would love to see. Do you think we would see those properties? What do you guys think?
I think they're going to start. They're probably going to start with the major movie franchises, but I could absolutely see them go through a few sets where they're like, this is their focus. Now, personally, I would think it would be better to spread those properties out among multiple sets. Yeah, bonkers. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, bonkers.
Where you
Oh,
could
I thought that
spread-
was just a review of the stream. I don't remember bonkers.
He's
the
looking it up.
police cat thing.
The police guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
But I would instead of, I thought about making making a set where it's like these are the highlighted areas, but it almost seems like it would be better to cherry pick. Hey, we're going to do a classic movie, a modern movie, one of the Saturday morning cartoon series in each set as we go along, so that it's sort of spread out and you get popular tidbits in every set.
Right.
Because I've seen other games that have tried to do that with some of the lower end properties, and it doesn't sell as well.
Right.
I think for every people, like, we are of roughly similar age, I guess. We're all kind of, we grew up through the 90s. So it means a lot to us. But you show anyone 5-10 years younger than us,
oh yeah,
half of these, and they haven't got a clue, right? So
yeah,
I think sprinkling them. I feel like the first few sets are most likely going to be similar to this, where it's a real sort of wide net.
Mm-hmm.
I do think eventually we'll start to see sets thematically close down a little bit, but I don't think it'll be around IPs. I think maybe we'll see something like a jungle set, and it's just, Jungle Book, Tarzan. Well, probably not Tarzan, but lots of, like, they'll do that, and then all of you can still have Cinderella, because it can be Cinderella Jungle Explorer, and she's a dreamborn, right? Like, so I feel like we'd rather see that, like, space, underwater, jungle, that kind of thing, over sort of more specific IPs.
Right.
It's a shame about Tarzan, but you can't win them all.
Wait, what do you mean it's a shame about Tarzan? What are you talking about?
Tarzan is one of the few movies that Disney don't own the IP for. They licensed it for the movie, and they don't have it now. That's why you don't see Tarzan anywhere. That's why there's no Tarzan stuff anywhere, because it's too complicated for them to pay whoever owns the rights. So yeah.
Are you meaning to tell me? Do you think are we not going to see Tarzan cards?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Just because because it's a logistical nightmare for them.
I did not know that.
I didn't even think about that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's why it's not on Disney. I think it is on Disney Plus now, but it wasn't originally, and now it is because of this issue they have. Like, there's a big thing about it.
I want my Tarzan songs.
Yeah, it's a big thing. They're owned by a family, and it was and Disney sort of paid for the rights for the movie, but they don't continue to own the rights. Yeah. It's one of the few times. It's one of the only movies that isn't either public domain, Disney came up with it, or Disney bought the rights. Yeah. Like, that's usually the big three, right? Like, it's either Snow White, Mickey Mouse, or they bought it and now own it, right? But Tarzan and a few others, there's not many. John Carter, I can't think of any others, but yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I did not know that.
But now I've said it, you go back and think, when was the last time you saw Tarzan on anything Disney related, right?
Like merchandise, you mean?
Well, yeah, you don't see much merchandise. Like the guy with the gun's not in Villainous.
Clayton.
Yeah, Clayton's
well, there's
not in Villainous.
To be fair, there's a lot of villains we still haven't.
No, there is, but it's you keep going back.
Well, I mean,
there's no real ride about him. There's
Tarzan was in the first Kingdom Hearts.
Yes,
they were in
not
that
in
one.
The others. Yeah.
Not in 3, 2. Not in 2. Was it just 1? I think it was just 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just 1. Yeah.
Yeah. You after this go and just Google Tarzan Disney rights, and you'll be able to read all up on it much clearer than I'm able to. It's going through a Jaunty filter from 10 years ago when I read about it, probably. Do you know what I mean? But there's a big thing. I think Sony owned the rights to it now, and
licensing is just its own thing, man. It's pretty crazy. All right, well, I'm gonna kick you guys out of here. I'm gonna go over some other cards here for some DC stuff. But
That's
you
good.
guys have any final thoughts? Because I mean, Gamma Gala's this weekend. Gamma's Monday, Tuesday.
Yep.
Is that right?
Next 4 days, hopefully we'll get some more pictures of the stuff we didn't see in the videos. And
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. My boss is going to Gamma, and he's expecting to come back with cards. So we'll see. I
I
don't
am
know.
very jealous.
Yeah, but we'll see. But I've told him to obviously photograph everything he can and get it sent over to us so I can share it on the Discords and stuff as quick as possible. But today was what I expected it to be, really. Just confirmations of a few things, nothing groundbreaking. Like a few of the rules genuinely surprised me, like the fact that all of the inks go in for Let It Go, and the fact that there was a few bits that sort of surprised me, but nothing real groundbreaking, I don't think, today.
Yeah.
Well, as I say that, Sugi jumps in, so we'll get Sugi here in here. Sugi, what's up, my friend? How are you?
I didn't do it.
You didn't
That's
do it.
what I heard.
You didn't hear nothing. You didn't see nothing, man.
So what's going on, Sugi? I was getting ready to not wrap up, but kick people out. So what was your thoughts on what you saw today? Were you surprised by anything, or confirm some stuff for you, or
No, it's pretty much what I was expecting. It was the very super safe. What do you call it? It's like the PR hand extension. Like, we'll talk to y'all, but only over certain controlled environmental things.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the moment they said we're only talking about rules and mechanics, that was not surprising at all. Like, I never at any point expected them to divulge new ideas or unseen cards. It was practically just, hey, we're gonna confirm some things and talk about shift.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Brandon is in the chat, says being able to choose in what order things pop is interesting. I mean, to me that's normal when I have triggered abilities that go off in a lot of other card games at the same time. Normally the active player who owns those triggers gets to choose those.
So
order in
that's
which
just
they go
made me
off.
think. Yeah, when you say active player, I suppose that's probably the answer. But say two like banish triggers go off through a challenge. Like, is it active player then?
It should
then
be active
non?
player, not active player.
So in most games that I've ever played, it's active player, then non-active player.
Right. Right. So all of your triggers, you get to order your own triggers, and it's the active player's effects go on the stack first, then the non-active
stack.
player. Again,
I know what you mean, though,
in a
yeah.
game like Mythic, yes. Yes.
I'm willing to bet you a lot of money there will be very, very rare moments where there's multiple triggers that would happen. It'll probably be like 1-1, and it's like your character does something, their character does something, and they're probably pretty uniquely separate. Like, one might be like when this character is banished. I mean, I like brooms into Cruella is a great example. If for some reason you swing your brooms into Cruella, okay, hey, your brooms goes back to your hand if you want it, and then Cruella bounces something if she wants to. There's not too much interactivity, even though technically they resolve at the same time.
I suppose it would be because the only other real one I can think of is Mulan and Cruella, but again, doesn't really matter what order they go off in.
Triggers whether she's on the board or not because she's fulfilled her text.
It just happens, right?
Yeah. So Mulan triggers regardless of where she is because she fulfilled it, and then Cruella bounces whatever the pilot wants to bounce.
So if Mulan survives and Cruella bounces her, the trigger has still happened, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to come up much, but there still will be 3.1.1a in the rules that specify it, right?
Right.
Because the game's interesting. It doesn't need the card online to recognize the effect has been fulfilled. It's just a light switch. Did you do it? Yes. Get a thing. No. Don't get a thing. And that's it. It's very simple for that reason.
Right. So the one thing that I was most interested in was the Inkwell discussion, but that topic's been beaten to death.
That doesn't surprise me. The fact that there literally are cards, and they put a card into your Inkwell and you can't look at it, made me think that it's not public. Otherwise, I feel like the cards would have very explicitly said, reveal the top card of your deck, regardless of what it is. Put it face down into your inkwell.
But
So
the
that way
difference is
all players can
the
know about
difference
it.
is we already do that when you put cards from your hand into your inkwell, and so that's why when they said it's not public information, it's like, well, but it already is. That stuff is public information. Yes, I
Yes, but we
understand
went over this.
effects. No, I get it. But I'm just saying they're different. They're different effects. Some of those effects, like One Jump Ahead, that information is not public. Everything else, that information already was public at one time. So when you say it's not public information, it is, or it was at one point. So that's the thing. That's the thing where I wasn't initially connecting the dots.
Yeah. So when the card specifically says it's not public information, that would allude to you have to remember what happened, because the game isn't necessarily relating to human mindset. The game doesn't have a memory. The game just checks the current state at any given time. And at any given time, if that card's face down, it doesn't know what it is, and you're not supposed to know what it is. Now, if you remember what it is because you're smart, good for you. But the game, as a NPC, if it were, doesn't recognize that those cards are anything but ink.
Yeah, and I think that's what it probably is. Like, as I think Brad mentioned before I came on, for a game that's trying its hardest to be very accessible, I am surprised that you can't just take a moment to take a look at what's in the ink and put it back down again. But I think the main reason they aren't doing that is so that you can't go, here's my hand of cards, here's my inkwell.
Right.
Whoops.
Oh no,
You know?
I redrew the cards.
Not even like cheating, just in general, it's like just an extra step of things that you have to follow and remember where is what. And oh god, actually, was this my hand or is that my? Oh, hold on, there was one. Like, I think I can understand why they've done it like that, but then if they'd have said the opposite, at any time you can look what's in your inkwell, that wouldn't have surprised me in the slightest.
But then why wouldn't the easier situation or easier solution just be put it face up, and then just it's on the back row, and then if you want to differentiate it, turn it upside down? Wouldn't that be technically?
That'd be dual masters, really.
Well, right. But
the only thing I can think of is that we're going to see something later that is only beneficial when they're face down, like randomly select a card from the inkwell, return it to your hand, or something like that. Like that's the only thing I can think.
In the old Versus system game, not the expandable card game now, but the original CCG, they had you could play things like plot twists. You could turn those face up if they were resources. But you could also play, they had a special card type or a special ability called Reservist. And you could reveal a card in your row that was a character card. I think I think they mostly did it on characters. They may have done it on others.
Yeah.
And then you could play it from your resource row. So I think that it's a possibility down the line that they're going to do something like that. That does make sense, Jonathan.
Yeah, and the way Versus system is now is when you can put cards in your resource zone face down, but you can also, the locations can be face up, and then you can use them as a resource, and then once they've been used, then you turn them face down.
Yep.
So
it's a potential mechanic to be explored.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and that might be it. Might just be a bit of future proofing, right?
Right. Yeah. So, all right, gentlemen.
It's funny, ironically, though. One last thought: a lot of the casual players don't care about this, and the competitive players really do.
Yeah.
And I find it quite ironic because I think that the game mechanic was really fundamentally built around just having fun. And so all the competitive players are like, oh, I can't remember this card. I'm not going to have notes on what happens to this. And then it's like, well, you're not the target demographic. Let's just be honest. You're the small minority inside of the sales majority that they want to move to. So we might be the ones who are overthinking the mechanic, where the design team's like, what's an easy way for, like, kids and their parents and new TCG gamers
to not get mixed up.
Yeah. Oh, just flip it face down. Okay. And then, there are those of us who are like, well, what if I'm at Worlds and I don't remember what the fifth card is that they put down because of blah, blah. They don't care. That's not on their docket of important things to design the card game around.
How am I supposed to have fun if I can't break this down into the minutiae detail?
Yeah. Sometimes I look at the mechanics and I'm like, I don't think they care about this, because it's not supposed to be competitive. It's not Flesh and Blood. It's not designed specifically around competitive players. designed around moms and dads and kids and families, and then we're the ones who are trying to make it into something that may or may not supposed to be.
I don't know, man. I don't know if they say if they haven't come out and said, oh, we're going to have a robust organized play system and ways for everybody to play it, then then they do care about it. Like to an extent.
Is it a robust organized play system though?
Well, it's right now everything is too early to tell, but you know what I mean.
They keep saying robust organized play system, and they keep saying there will be opportunities for tournament play, although they haven't said the words. Let's be honest, that's what they mean. There's going to be tournament play.
Really good at spinning their marketing. They can say whatever they want and mean nothing of it. So until we see it, it's just words.
I feel like it would be a huge swing and a miss for them to have said, there will be opportunities for people to show their. I don't know, what did they say? I can't remember the exact words now, but like if it's anything other than yes, there are tournaments. I think that's kind of crazy.
Right.
But as soon as they're at that level of play, there has to be all these rules in place.
Right. Like I said, the rules will be what they are, regardless of whether I like them or not, and I'll adjust accordingly. So, like I said, even my complaints I have recognized and realized they're just very minor and they don't mean much, regardless of whether I like them or not. So, anyway, all right, gentlemen. Well, thanks for hanging out tonight. I appreciate y'all stopping by. I'm gonna look at some more DC deck building cards because I opened a giant box the other day, so I want to show some of this stuff off. So hopefully we're gonna have a lot to talk about here in the next few days. So
yeah,
do you guys have it? Give me some last thoughts, Brad. Give me your parting thought here.
Most of what we saw today was kind of what most of us that have played a lot of TCGs expected. Again, there were a couple of things like, hey, look, I get to pick up this whole stack of stuff that I've shifted, but not a lot of stuff that was too surprising. But I'm glad to get clarification because it makes demoing the game to folks that are maybe interested a lot easier.
Right. John T, go.
For anyone who wasn't particularly satisfied with what today was, I think we have to remember that this most likely was still part of the damage limitation from the Game Trade magazine coming out early.
Okay.
If it hadn't come out early, I feel like we probably wouldn't even know the rules at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Have you had conversations where people aren't generally, or there are folks who aren't generally happy or haven't been happy with the information?
Not particularly, but I just think it's worth bearing in mind that I think a lot, like everything that's happened over the last week, is still a little earlier than Ravensburger wanted it to be.
Right.
I imagine most of this should have been happening on their terms over this weekend with the actual gameplay happening at the conventions.
Right. Sugi, go.
Yeah, I think they're holding a lot closer to the chest because of the quote unquote accidental leak with GTM. So my money is Gamma is going to have some news, and then we're going to have something in May, and then they're going to start ramping up for Gen Con. So all these things that they're hyping and hinting at, it's more or less just kind of preventative maintenance because, oops, my bad. And my nuts and bolts belief is what we're getting right now is to satiate the people on the fence who are like, what is a Lorcana? Should I kind of sort of maybe play with my kid? And those of us who are the competitive X-Magic players, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, whatever, who really want, like, how the heck does this work in this specific situation so I can win the next World event? I think we're going to get that information closer to release because, again, that is not the primary selling demographic. Right now, they need to start pulling people in to make money, and we're going to buy it, and so they don't need to sell us anything. We're already on lock. So they need to start promoting to moms and dads and comic book fans and so on and so forth. So for this point in the summer, I think it's going to be lighter on news for what we tournament players want. And once we get closer to release and Gen Con, then we're starting to really see how to get into the nitty gritty.
I think we'll see new cards this week at Gamma because there's demos going out. So even if they don't want to show them, people will be taking photos. And I'd be amazed if the demos they're playing are using the decks that we're playing with right now, because that's not a good demo. Because the decks we're playing with are janky and thrown together. Like I feel like they're probably using starter decks. So I feel like we're going to see cards from the starter decks this week.
Right. Right. All right. Well, before you guys go, Pandemonium says thank you guys for all gathering together. Really, so much enjoy your guys' collabs. So thanks again, guys, for hanging out.
Hey, you're welcome.
Really
Thanks for having
appreciate
us.
it. So, all right. Well, we'll chat. Hopefully, we got more to talk about next week. So, all right,
And do
all
one
right,
of the
gentlemen.
end of the TV show freeze frames as you cut me off.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Have a good one.
All right. I wonder if there's a way that I can like select multiple people to do it once, but anyway, I don't really know about that. All right. So I want to we're going to show off. We're going to go through some of these where can I put this where it's like not out of the way or it is out of the way. There we go. And we're going to do this. All right. Wrong one. Yeah, and now you can hear the I'm switching over to this microphone up here so you guys can hear my refrigerator. So as we move this stuff out of the way, there we go. So we can oh man, this is kind of nasty. Zoom in. Yeah, this is, as you can tell, this is pretty dirty. So we've got let's check out these DC cards. So we're gonna zoom all the way in. So we've got so I opened up, these are the bombshell ones, which these are actually kind of cool. So we'll put these kind of up here. Is this the okay? This is the randomizer. So there's the randomizer. All right, so these are in the Bombshells crossover pack. So this is crossover pack number 9. You can do it. Come on. You can focus. I know you can do it. You can do it. Oh man. There we go. Magic Bracers. So it's a 5 cost, says +1 power and draw a card, and then has a defense ability. Discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, draw 3 and then discard 2. Wow. Well, I mean, yeah, you're discarding 2, but you're still up a card. Well, no, you're not up a card. It just replaces itself, but you get to pick the best one. This is the Kickstarter promo. That's kind of nice. Ravager. +1 power. Okay, so bombshell attack. If you look right here. Oh, man. I'm going to change the focusing, guys. So give me 1 second. I don't want to touch the camera because that's going to make it shake. Autofocus. Manual focus. There we go. There. Now it's on manual manual focus. And what is it? All right, f4.5. We were almost there. Sorry, guys. There we go. Looks like it. Okay. So that bombshell attack says bombshell attacks are a special type of attack card. They have powerful effects that help you, the person playing the card, rather than harm your opponents. However, an opponent can stop you from benefiting from these explosive effects by using a defense card. When you play a card with the bombshell attack, announce its effect to all your foes, then starting with the foe on your left and continuing clockwise, each foe has the opportunity to use a defense card to stop the bombshell attack from going off. So it's basically the same as a regular attack, but instead of doing a negative thing to your opponent, you are just doing a positive thing to yourself. And you know what? Here's what I'm actually going to try and do real quick, guys. So we're going to see if I can set up a picture-in-picture here for a second. Oh, there we go. We're actually there. So if we just do, I can do, what's key for? It's actually, pardon me 1 second, guys. But what I'm actually doing is if I just turn on key 4. No, actually, that's actually not what I want. I actually want to do box 1 is going to be camera 2, box 2, box 3 enable, box 4 enable, box 2 is going to be source is going to be the desk camera. Okay, perfect. Box 1 size is going to be 1 and 0 0. Oh, wait a minute, that actually needs to be, my bad, this needs to be this. Box 2 needs to be camera 2. My bad. That needs to be camera 2. There we go. 0 0. Box 1 size 0.25. Actually, let's make it, yeah, that's actually fine. And then if I actually just do this, and then you guys, there we go. So now I've got it. I at least have it in frame, and I'm moving it around. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. So Ravager, +1 power bombshell attack. Destroy any number of non-attack cards in the lineup. Refill lineup. So all we're doing is just refilling the lineup. That's not bad. I mean, it's 2 cost. I mean, actually for two, that's actually pretty good. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Black Canary, +1 power, bombshell attack. You may put up to 3 cards from discard on top of your deck. I like that for 3, +1 power. These bombshell attacks are nice. I like them. It's pretty interesting. Batgirl, +3 power, bombshell attack. You know what? Bombshell attack. You may gain a card from the destroyed pile and put it on top of your deck. You may gain a card from the destroyed pile. For 6? Oh, so you're just gaining a card. Oh, that's man, that's good. That's good. That's good. I like that. Katana, +2 power, bombshell attack. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Destroy any number of them and put the rest back in any order. Good. A lot of bombshell attacks. So these are all super villains. Or yeah, these are all super villains. So those are all super villains. Set those down here. Villain, 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 villain. And then we have superpower, hero, more heroes. So let's actually combine those. Here, let's move these down here. So we've got more heroes. I want to look at the more heroes. And then we do have some equipment. Okay, let's look at these heroes. Mary Marvel. And what did we have here? These are heroes. Those are Kickstarter. Ravager. Oh, these are all the Kickstarter promos. So that makes sense because these are Kickstarter promos. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense as to why those are pretty good. Okay. So Mary Marvel, bombshell attack, double your current power and any power you generate this turn. Key right there is basically anything you generate. Raven, 6 cost, +2 attack. Reveal the bottom card of your deck and draw it. Reveal this process until you have drawn 2 cards that share a type or your deck is empty. Interesting. It's nice. Vixen, draw card. This is a 5-drop. Bombshell attack. Get the top card of the main deck and put it into your hand. Oh. What? Wow. So you're getting 2 cards. So you're not getting any power. So you're always, wow, this is just a better, this is just a much better just draw card. That's good. I like that. Barbara, free, +2 power, bombshell attack. You pay 2 less to defeat villains and super villains this turn. Okay, seen that effect. It's a good effect. Hawk Girl. I like the bubble gum right there. That's kind of nice. +2 power bombshell attack. Put an item from your discard pile into your hand. Okay. Dr. Kimio Hoshi. +2 power bombshell attack. +2 power. So you can get 4 power. Wow. That's good. I like that. Catwoman. Hero bombshell attack. Gain a card from the lineup. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if that's good or not. That's very situational. Very, very situational. Lois Lane. +1 power bombshell attack. Draw 2, then discard a card. Okay. The Batgirls. Interesting. +1 power bombshell attack. Play the top card of the main deck. Then return it or put it into the lineup. Turn that down. All right, +1 power. Play the top card of the main deck. Then return it or put it into the lineup. That's an interesting effect. I like that. Very cool. Okay, Maggie Sawyer. +1 power, plus a bombshell attack. Look at the top 3 cards of the main deck. Add any number of them to the lineup and put the rest back in any order. Interesting. That's a good effect. I like that. Man, there's just a lot of these bombshell attacks here. They just seem pretty good. I like them. Huntress bombshell attack. Look at the top card of your deck. Draw it or destroy it. And has a defense. Discard this card to avoid an attack if you do draw a card. So it replaces itself in hand. I like that. That's interesting. Cosmic Staff. Gain a card with the lowest cost from the lineup. Defense. Put this card from your hand into play to avoid an attack. If you do, play it during your next turn. So you're always going to be able to do this. Wow. That is nice. So you're always gaining cards. And then if you use it to defend, this could be good. This could be a lot better when you're using it as a defense. If you are building your deck in such a way that has those benefits. I'm thinking of Diggle from Green Arrow, the Arrow expansion crossover. That's interesting. I like that effect. Lil Slugger, 4 costs, +2 power. Defense, discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, put a bombshell attack card from your discard pile into your hand or draw a card. So replaces itself in your hand. Could get a bombshell attack, which there's a lot of good ones here. And giving you +2 power. That's good. I'm assuming that's got to be the victory points. That's got to be what that is. So that's all those. Those are pretty good. I like that. Let's look at villains. I need to get a different playmat over here instead of this black mouse pad. Hugo Strange, villain, +2 power, defense. Discard this card to avoid an attack. If it's a bombshell attack, resolve the effect for yourself. Otherwise, draw 2 cards. Man, that can be good. Oh, I like that. That's really good. Poison Ivy, +2 power, bombshell attack. Play a card from the lineup, then destroy it. If it's an ongoing card, leave it in play instead. Oh, man, that's good. I like that. Like Poison Ivy. Alexander Luthor. Mr. Lex Luthor himself. Okay. I need to get some sleeves. Do we have a sleeving party? All right, Alexander Luthor, +2 power. You may put an attack card from your discard pile on top of your deck. If it's a bombshell attack card, you may put it into your hand instead. You may put an attack card from your discard on top of your deck. Oh, okay. So you can put any regular attack card on top of your deck, but if you choose a bombshell attack, that goes into your hand instead. Okay, not bad. And you're getting +2 power. Cheetah, +2 power, bombshell attack. Put a superpower from discard pile into hand. Like, man, what's good? Okay, so the bombshell attacks. Let me actually go. I want that. Here. So hang on. So these bombshell attacks, okay, I like them, but the thing that the thing that I am thinking about is your opponent hopefully will be down a card. I'm just trying to figure out how to evaluate it. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to evaluate them. But it's good. Like it's a good effect. I do like the effect. Harley Quinn, +2 power, bombshell attack. You may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. I mean, so a destroy effect on an attack is good, because again, like these are all really good effects for yourself, and then giving your opponent, I don't want to say giving your opponent like a chance to stop you, but basically you're giving yourself a benefit and then potentially getting rid of a card in your opponent's hand, right? Like in 1v1, these bombshell attacks are just that much better. These bombshell attacks are just so much better. Like if you don't get the bombshell attack, then I don't know if the card's really very good. Hugo Strange is really good though. Whisper Adair, +3 power. Each foe discards an attack card. Bombshell attack is considered an attack, I would assume. Okay. Once a foe has stopped the effect, no other players may use a defense card to stop it again. Only one defense is required to stop the bombshell attack, no matter how many players are in the game. Let's see. What is on the back of this? Okay. If a bombshell attack is negated by a foe, you will still get all effects. You will still get all effects, such as power or draw card, printed before the bombshell attack text. The defending player still resolves all effects that are part of the defense on the card they use, just like they would when they avoid a regular attack. Bombshell attack cards are considered attack cards for all purposes. Excuse me, that's what I thought. Okay, so he did Whisper. What's the next one? Heat Vision, superpower, +2 power. You may play an attack card from the lineup. If you do, return it at the end of your turn. Okay, that's pretty good. I like the core set Heat Vision better, but that's still good. Water Control, superpower. Put up to 2 heroes from discard into your hand. If there are none, +2 power. That's pretty good. I like that. London, location. The first time you play an attack card during each of your turns, draw a card. Okay, just card draw. Atlantis, each time a foe avoids an attack during your turn, +1 power. I like that. It's very good. So we only got 2 locations here, but still good. You know what? Let's actually get these over there. And let's do this. All right, so we've got the supervillains. General Feora. Okay, unavoidable first appearance attack. Return all destroyed weakness cards to the weakness stack. Each player destroys an attack card in their hand unless they gain 2 weakness cards. Each player destroys an attack card in their discard pile unless they gain a weakness. Wow. So you're gaining 3 weaknesses potentially. Killer Frost. Villain +3 power bombshell attack. Take an additional turn after this one. First appearance attack. Each player destroys the top 2 cards of their deck. That could be good. Could be bad. Could be good. But the bombshell attack, take an additional turn after this one, and you get +3 power. That's pretty good. I like that. Mechanical Gods, super villain. You may put up to 3 attack cards from your discard pile into your hand. If you choose not to, is that 4? +4 power? Okay. You're getting 3 attack cards. Wow. Getting 3 attack cards. Man, so if your opponent avoids 1, oh man, that's pretty good. You need a lot. You need a lot of attack cards in your deck though, which I mean, could be pretty easy. First appearance attack. Each player destroys 3 cards in their hand. This is the beginning of the game. It's good. Right? The Titan, supervillain, +3 power. Defense. Discard the top card Wait, hang on. I'm getting salt in my eyes. I'm getting something in my eyes, guys. Oh goodness. Okay. Okay. Defense. So you get +3 power, and then it has defense. Discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, gain a card from the lineup and put it into your hand. Wow, that's good. First appearance attack. Each player destroys a defense card in their hand or discard pile. Each player who avoids this attack gains 2 weakness cards. Oh, boy. That's good. Wow. My goodness. Holy cow, dude. Man, I'm sorry. Nereus, supervillain. +3 power and an additional +2 power for each attack card you play or have played this turn. Wow. That's pretty good. First appearance attack, each player passes an attack card from their hand or discard pile to the discard pile of the player to their left. Each player who cannot gains a weakness. Okay. Baroness Paula von Gunther. Villain, supervillain, +3 power. Foes cannot avoid your next attack this turn. Oh, that's good. First appearance attack, each player gains a weakness. The player with the highest cost in their hand gains an additional weakness. Oh, I'm sorry. Tenebrae soldiers. +3 power. You may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. First appearance attack. Each player discards 2 cards unless they reveal an attack card from their hand. Ooh. But that, I mean, part of me is always like revealing the fact that knowing that my opponent has an attack card doesn't really do me any good because it's not like I can do anything about it. You know? It's not going to, I don't think it's really going to change any decision of choices that I make, you know? I mean, I guess you always have the option of choosing to defend against an attack or not. So, and the Joker's daughter, villain, bombshell attack. Put the 3 lowest cost cards in your discard pile into your hand. Okay, ongoing defense. Discard this card from play to avoid an attack. If you do, draw a card. Oh, man. So, you play it. Okay, so this card's really good because you play it, you get the bombshell attack. Okay. So if it fails, you have an ongoing defense. Okay. But your opponent is technically down a card because they had to spend that defense. Now, depending on what that defense is, will depend on whether that is good or not for you. But the ongoing, just having that ongoing defense on board is, man, that's nice. That is very good. That is nice. I like that. Like that card. Okay, man, these are some pretty good cards. Yeah, these are really good, man. I'm a fan. All right, now let's take a look. Okay, this is the no, Jacob. This was already opened. This was already opened. I'm just going through. I'm going through this stuff right now. We opened this stuff the other day. So anyway, this is the divider, which these are nice. And is it foil? I don't know if this is foil or not. I don't really think it is, but let's see how this kind of looks. Because it's shiny. Regardless, it's shiny. Yeah, looks nice. Yeah, it's got that texture on it. So it's nice. Yeah, I like these. I like having these for my games. And then I do have the rivals, the Flash rival stuff. So, all right, here we go. So we've got Commander Waller. +1 power for each attack card you play during your turn. That's good. I mean, that is good. So just always getting that additional power is very good. So let's do this. Okay. We're going to try to do it like this. Okay. Supergirl. Each time you gain or play a card with cost 5 or greater during your turn, +1 power. And then got that foil. You know, the foiling looks kind of nice. I mean, I don't know. The foil, you know, it is what it is. You know, some people like it, some people don't. No, Flash vs. Reverse Flash is not a Kickstarter exclusive. You are like, I have the Kickstarter edition, but you are going to be able to get it later. Okay, Stargirl. At the end of each of your turns, if you gained 3 or more cards, draw 2 extra cards. Huh. That's good. This gives me vibes of core set Wonder Woman, but that's good. All right, Batwoman. Let's see. Each time you play an equipment, add the top card of the main deck to the lineup. If it's an attack card, you may play it. If you do, return it to the lineup at the end of your turn. So all it's requiring you to do is play equipments. And then you're adding the top card of the main deck to the lineup. And then if it's attack, you get to play it. So regardless, the thing, oh man, this is good. This is really good just because you're able to see stuff that your opponent, you get to see stuff before your opponent sees it. Right. One of the worst things I hate about games like this, I shouldn't say hate. It's a feels bad. It's a feels bad. Is at the end of your turn, you refill the lineup. Oh man, I really wish I would have seen that card because I would have gotten it. And then your opponent gets it before you're able to. That is such a bad feeling. But with this, all you need to do, just play an equipment. Okay, now I get to see the card and I have the opportunity to purchase it. So Jacob, to make it fun, could you play heroes from different sets into another set? Oh yeah, we've done that. Yeah, we've absolutely done that. I'm actually working on. Am I working on it? Yes, you can do that. You very, very much can do that. And actually, if you go to our channel, if you go to our live streams, we did a live stream of this game. In fact, let me actually see. I'm gonna see if I can find it for you. Jacob, give me 1 second here as I'm trying to do this. Let's go to this. I'm gonna see if I can find you that link, Jacob, of what I'm thinking of, and I have to delete that because why would you do that to me, man? Goodness gracious, that live stream testing, yeah, you can delete that. Please delete forever. I understand. Delete. Thank you. Okay, it is live stream. Pokemon, Digimon, live stream testing. Was it the one that we did testing with, or did we do Saturday stream and giveaway? Let me actually see if this is it. Sorry, Jacob. I'm trying to see if I can find this for you because it was a lot of fun. Like, it was actually a pretty good video. This actually might be it. Well, that's terrible. And is this the one? No, this is actually when we played. Okay, it's not that one. I actually think it was when we did the live stream testing. Pokemon. I think it was this one. Showing off Spirit Duels, and we did Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, I actually think it might have been this one. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, this is the one. We're going to hit share, copy, and then I'm going to throw this in chat. I found it, Jacob. Here you go. This is the one. So, so we were playing the core set. I think we were playing the core set, but I was playing Diggle, so from Arrow. And I don't know. I would assume I don't know if we were playing with other crossover cards in that game. And Jim was playing Shazam because Jim loves Shazam. Dude, John Diggle was crazy. John Diggle was so much fun. But yeah, you can go check out that video or that stream. And just so you know, we're actually working at getting. I'm trying to get stuff set up where, because my big thing is, for those of you who've watched any of our streams, or our videos, like I make it a point to show the cards on screen, like as best I can, quality, so people can read them. So I'm working on developing a program that will overlay those cards on screen just by voice. So it's something I'm working on. That way it'll make live streaming just that much easier. That way our stuff looks good. So anyway, that's that. Okay, so Batwoman, I like Batwoman. Batwoman's sick. Mara, Amber Heard. Oh no. Each time you play a hero, choose a foe. That foe cannot avoid your attack next turn. Man, another one, making your attacks unavoidable. That's good. Like, that is a really, really good effect. But again, like, you've got that foil a little bit. Zatanna. The first time any player avoids an attack during each turn, look at the top card of your deck. Destroy it, leave it on top, or put it on the bottom of your deck. That's good. That's good because that, triggers at any time. Wonder Woman. Discard 2 different cards. Double the power of the next card you play this turn. Use only once per turn. Huh. I mean, that's going to be super situational. That is going to be super situational. Let's see. Do they have a ruling on Wonder Woman? Because what I'm thinking is, here, let's look at this. Let's leave Wonder Woman here, okay? What about the one that already doubles your power? Let me see if I can find it, because I'm specifically looking for the one that doubles the power. Because my assumption is, here we go. So let's read these cards here. Let's read the cards. Wonder Woman, discard 2 different cards. Double the power of the next card you play this turn. Mary Marvel, bombshell attack. Double your current power. No, I'm assuming when it says double the power of the next card you play, it's the power that you're generating with it. So like here, let's look at Whisper. So Whisper generates +3 power. So my assumption is when Wonder Woman says double the power of the next card you play this turn, it's the power that you're generating. So you generate 3 power with Whisper, you would generate 6 power with a Wonder Woman. And you wouldn't, because Mary Marvel isn't generating you any power. But if you did, so Mary Marvel is just better. But Wonder Woman is, man, like that. If that's how that works, that's not good. Like, Wonder Woman is just not good. So here's a question. Okay, here's a question. There's a card that has +2 power stapled on, but then a bombshell attack +4 power. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Dr. Kimio, is that Hoshi? Yeah, I think it's Hoshi. It says +2 power. Bombshell attack, +2 power. Double the power of the next card you play this turn. So if I generate, I'm assuming if I'm able to generate 4 power and the bombshell attack is successful with Dr. Kimio, that Wonder Woman would make it 8 power. And if I'm only able to generate 2 power, then Wonder Woman still would just make it 4 power. That's my assumption. Jacob, what is the best hand 5 cards you can get with all sets combined? Dude, I have no idea, because that's a lot of sets. That's a lot of sets. I had a game which is recorded, and I have to edit it, from Teen Titans. I had Azarath, Metreon, Zenthos, and then it was an ongoing villain. Basically, I was able to get like 14 power with like 2 cards every single turn. It was kind of bananas, kind of bonkers. But that's in a video that will be coming at some point. I don't know when, but it's going to be coming at some point. So be on the lookout for that. Which I do have another DC deck building gameplay video coming out hopefully soon when I can get the editing done. But anyway, this is what set is this? Bombshells? Yeah, bombshells. Yeah, I don't know, man. Wonder Woman just doesn't seem like she's that good. The superhero Wonder Woman. We'll zoom out. Kickstarter. This is a Kickstarter edition. Oh, come on, you can do it. There we go. And then I haven't even opened these. And then we have, man, look at this. Look at this. Look at us. Haven't even opened these cards yet. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Let's set those ones aside. Here we go. So let's do this. Let's look at the 3 sets, or the 3 versions of each. We've got the Flash, level 1. Got the Flash, level 2. We've got the Flash, level 3. The Flash, level 1, you may pay 1 less to buy your first Speedster card each turn. Once during your turn, discard a superpower, draw 2 cards, then discard 2. All right, so you're filtering. Level 2, +1 power for each hero you play. The second time you play superpower each turn, put the top card of the main deck or a card with cost 1 or greater from the destroyed pile into the lineup. Okay. Flash, level 3, confrontation. Each time you play a different superpower this turn, draw a card, then discard a card. Each time you play a hero this turn, +1 power, and put a card with cost 1 or greater from destroyed pile on top of the main deck. Okay. Wow, level 1 only is, it costs 9. Okay. It costs 9 to do that. Okay. Huh. A dark night. Huh. Interesting. So level 2 for Flash, +1 power for each. I mean, you want to be building heroes. The second time, but then says the second time you play superpower each turn. So you can just get kicks for that. And then level 3 Flash, again, looking at you to be playing heroes, but during confrontation, giving you different superpowers. We're looking for you to play different superpowers. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So that is Flash. Okay. Now let's look at Reverse Flash. Level 1 Reverse Flash. Level 2. I'm free, and I am not going back. Level 1 Reverse Flash. The first time you play a villain during your turn, destroy a card in the lineup and draw a card. Level 2. Once during your turn, play a card from the destroyed pile with VP value less than the number of villains you control, then destroy that card. Let me read that again. Once during your turn, play a card from the destroyed pile with VP value less than the number of villains you control. Play a card from the destroyed pile. Some villains you control, then destroy that card. Huh. So wow, that's pretty good. I mean, it's so that card is going to stay in the destroyed pile essentially. And then Reverse Flash, level 3, confrontation. The first time you play a villain this turn, destroy the top card of the main deck. So you're filling up. No, because you only get the 1, which once per turn. Okay. Once this turn, +1 power for each card with cost 1 or greater you played this turn that shares a type with a destroyed card. Let me read that again. Once this turn, +1 power for each card with cost 1 or greater you played this turn that shares a type with a destroyed card. So you want the destroyed pile to be filled up.
So, which that is a theme all throughout level 1 all the way through level 3. Huh. You know what? I would much rather play Reverse Flash. I would very much rather play Reverse Flash if given the choice here. Wow, that's good. This is just the divider. But why? You're gonna let me open it. You can do it. Jacob, DC or Marvel? Just in general? Are you just asking which I like better in general? Because if that's the question, it's an easy answer, DC. Just because I grew up all on Batman animated series. I love Batman. So that would be my answer for that. If you're asking in a different context, my answer may be different, but it depends on the context. But if it's in general, it's definitely DC. All right, let's take a look at these cards. Ugh. These cards smell? Oh yeah, they do. All right, let's grab all these starters. Punches, vulnerabilities. Ooh. Hang on. That's all. Okay. So we're going to put you guys up there. Could you make your own cards for the game? For this game, I'm sure you could. I mean, there's definitely nothing stopping you from making your own stuff. You got weaknesses. Here is these are all promos. Wow. And then rivals. And then these are foils. Wow. Okay. So we'll look at these. This is the randomizer card. I'm going to set those ones aside. Okay. So here are, okay. These are all starters, weaknesses, and then what is this super speed? It says +2 power during confrontation. You may return this to its stack. If you do, draw a card, then discard a card. Huh. Interesting. I like this. So this is like a kick. Is it a super? It's not a superpower, but because here we have punches. We have punches and we have vulnerabilities. Huh. I like how it says no effect on it. Very nice. So these are your starters, your weaknesses. Huh, but are there no kicks? There must be no kicks. Let me actually see here. Yeah. Vibrating hand. Yeah, I don't see any kicks. So it's just the super speed. Huh, I like that. That's cool. But they're not superpowers. Huh, interesting. I like that though. But I like that super speed. That super speed is nice. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so we have heroes, we have villains, and then we have locations, location, equipment, superpowers. Okay, so let's look at heroes and villains first. Okay. All right. Director Sing, if you control a block card, +3 power, otherwise +1 power. +2 power, block 3. Huh, I don't know what block means. I believe it's specifically to do with confrontation. Let's actually see if we can find something in here. Perfect, the first page I open up to. Block cards contain the bold keyword block followed by a number in parentheses in their game text. After a foe confronting you has played all their cards. That's right. You may discard a number of block cards from your hand to increase your character's cost. The value in the parentheses is how much your character cost increases by. Any text after the block keyword is only resolved if you discard the card to increase your cost while you are being confronted. In order to prevent your foe from defeating your character, you must discard That's right. You must discard enough block cards to increase your cost to a number higher. So if you haven't played Confrontations or a Confrontations set or mode, basically, let's just look at Reverse Flash. So it's 1v1. Okay, it's 1v1. And you are taking the control of one of the characters. Okay. And basically, on your turn, you have two options. You can confront your opponent, or you can play your turn like normal. Okay, where you play your cards, gain power, and then you just continue. So if you want to confront your opponent, that's what this is. You confront them and you try and beat that number. So if I'm playing Flash and my opponent is playing Reverse Flash, I have my hand of cards, I can say Confrontation because I'm confident I can get 9 power this turn. So I have to play all of my cards out, every card that's in my hand. Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be in my hand. Or excuse me, I don't have to play everything out in my hand. It's just I play everything that I want to try and beat that number. Okay. Once I'm done, then it goes to my opponent. They can block. So if they have cards that have block like this, they discard that from their hand to increase their character's cost. So let's say my opponent who has Reverse Flash, okay, I play out all my cards, I get 10 power. So they have to increase their cost by 2 in order for me to lose that confrontation. So if they have Elongated Mane in hand and discard this to block, they would add that 3 to the 9, so they would be up to 12. So Reverse Flash's level 1 cost is effectively 12. I've only gained 10 power, so I lose that confrontation. That's how it works. Okay. It's been a minute since I've played it, so that would explain why I couldn't remember. So that's Elongated Man. We have Frost, Caitlyn Snow, +2 power. If you control a superpower attack, each foe gains a weakness. Iris West, draw a card. Confrontation, draw a card. If you fail this confrontation, draw an additional card at the end of this turn. Oh, that's nice. So again, that just speaks to the whole confrontation thing. Okay. So if I play this card like normal, I just draw a card. However, if it's a confrontation, I can draw another card. And then if I fail a confrontation, I get to draw an additional card at the end of this turn. This is draw 3 cards potentially. Man, that is good. I like that. Vibe, +2 power, block 3. Put up to 2 cards that cost 1 or greater from the destroyed pile into the lineup. Now, these affiliations, I can't remember. I think you can only gain those cards if they're your affiliation. I think. Don't quote me on that. I have to check the rule book for that. Firestorm. +2 power. You may destroy a card you control. If you do, gain a card from the destroyed pile with the same cost as the destroyed card. Block 3. You may destroy a card you control or in your discarded pile. Huh, that's on a block. That's nice. All right. Oh, goodness. Trickster. I'm not going to go through all these cards. But let me see. Let me actually see, because I got to end the stream here. I'm sorry, guys. Heat Wave says destroy a card in your hand and in a lineup. Confrontation. If you play or have played another villain this turn, +2 power. Girder, this is 3 cost, +2 power, but has block 3. That's nice. Master Abracadabra. Just because I like the name Abracadabra. Reveal cards from the top of your deck with the number of other villains and equipment you control, stopping when empty. Discarding a number of them and put the rest back in any order. Huh. Interesting. Is it reveal? Yeah, so you're just revealing. You're fixing the top of your deck. Captain Cold. Gorilla Grodd. Just good. +2 power. If you control a superpower, draw a card. We got some other... Ooh, this is good. Ragdoll, 2-drop. +1 power. Block 2. The foe confronting you gains a weakness. That's good. Okay. Do. The Flash Museum. Ongoing once during your turn, put a card from your hand on top of your deck. Interesting. Huh, that's interesting. I have to look at the other cards to see where that's going to be good. The Negative Speed Force. Ongoing the first time you destroy a card, you turn, draw a card. That's good. That's nice. Star Labs. Ongoing each time you destroy one or more cards during your turn, +1 power. Man, matching both of them, get a power draw. The Speed Force. Ongoing. Once during your turn, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Speedster card, draw it. If not, you may discard it. We've got the all right, so those are the locations that we saw. Let's get get those out of there. Okay, Flash Ring, +2 power. Put a Speedster card from a discard pile on top of your deck. I think that is Speedster. I'd have to check the rules. Speedster Suit, or maybe that's just they're both of them. I don't know. Again, I gotta look at this stuff. The Speedster Suit, +2 power. Defense. Discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, draw 2 and add 2 to the cost of all superheroes and supervillains this turn. Huh. Defense. Oh man, that is interesting. I like that. Cosmic Treadmill. If you control Speedster card, play the top card of the main deck. At the end of turn, destroy it. I like that. Lightning Rod. +3 power. Destroy the top card of the main deck. Confrontation. Play a Speedster card from the destroyed pile. At the end of turn. Oh, add it to the lineup. Okay. That's 7. Destroy the top card of the main deck. Huh. Interesting. Run on Water. Draw, then discard, and block 2. Phasing. Look at the top card of your deck. Destroy it or leave it. Defense. Discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, you may destroy a card in your hand or discard. That's good. Think Fast. Superpower. Block 2. +2. If you reveal a Speedster card. Oh, hang on. So it's block 2, but you can block 2 additional if you reveal a Speedster card from your hand or discard pile. Flash Time. Draw a card. You may put a card with cost 1 or greater from destroyed into the lineup. Defense. Discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, draw 2 cards. Arm Tornado. Oh, goodness. +2 power, block 4 and draw. That's good. There's one of these. Infinite Mass Punch. Superpower. Confrontation. +1 power for each other card with VP value 1 or greater you played this turn. Otherwise, +2 power. Okay. We have Accelerated Healing, +2 power. If you control Speedster card, you may destroy a card you control. Okay. Speed Clone, +1 power. Confrontation, you may discard a card if you do, draw 2. So you're getting that power. You're getting 1 power off the card, and then giving you the option to discard one other card to draw 2. That's not bad. Sonic Snap. Is that supposed to be Thanos? +2 power. Attack. Each foe gains a weakness. Okay. Vibrating Hand. Love the art on this one. That's kind of freaky. +2 power. You may destroy a card in the lineup. If you do, put the top card of the main deck into the lineup. Okay, for 5. Time Travel. 6 costs. You may play a card from the destroyed pile with cost 1 or greater. If you do, put it on top or bottom of the main deck. If you choose not to, play a card from the lineup. At the end of turn, destroy it. Not bad. Is that everything? No, it's actually not. I think these are all the promos. Let's look at the promos. Yeah, definitely gotta look at the promos. Am I right? All right. That is Central City PD. Location. Ongoing. At the start of your turn, you may add the top card of the main deck to the lineup. If you do, pay 1 less to buy that card this turn. Okay. Interesting. The Thinker. +1 power. Confrontation. Put a card from your discard pile into your hand. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's good. Hard stop. 6 cost, superpower plus 3 power. Confrontation. If you fail this confrontation, you may use your power to buy 1 card from the lineup. Oh, wow. That is really good because during confrontation, you cannot buy cards from the lineup. Your entire thing is confronting your opponent, trying to defeat their character. Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to do that. So the fact that you can do that if you lose a confrontation, that's pretty good. I like that. Turtle plus 2 power, block 2 plus 1 for each speedster card the confronting player controls. I like that. Disorienting speed, superpower plus 2 power, attack. Each foe discards a confrontation card. Okay, Weatherman plus 3 power. The next time you discard a card this turn, you may pass it to a foe's hand. Huh, that's good. That could be good. Again, all dependent upon what your deck looks like. Impulse. So now we've got some foils. We got some foil cards here. Impulse. If this is the first card you play this turn, discard your hand and draw 4. We've seen this effect quite a bit. Speedster plus 1 power and put a card with VP value from the destroyed. So these are cards with Speedster. Okay, understood, because it has this Speedster thing. Now, what does Speedster actually mean? So let me look here, and then we'll find it real quick. Gameplay. Block. Here we go. New concept. Speedster. Some hero and villain cards in the main deck have the Speedster keyword. You'll also see a lightning bolt watermark in their text box as a reminder. That right there. When you play a Speedster card, the text after Speedster is only active if you drew a card earlier that turn. Understood. Drawing cards does not activate Speedster cards you played earlier in that turn. A Speedster card that draws a card will not trigger its own Speedster effect. Drawing 1 card will activate the Speedster effect of all cards you played later that turn. Some cards have an additional effect. If you control a Speedster card, as long as you control a card with this keyword, you will get the bonus even if you have not already drawn a card that turn. Hang on. As long as you control a card with this keyword, you will get the bonus. Oh, okay. They're talking about if there's an effect that says they give you control Speedster card. Yeah. So Speedster, plus 1 power, and put a card with VP value plus VP value 1 from destroyed into the lineup. KS. Plus 1 power Speedster. You may discard a card if you do. So meaning when you play this card, if you've already drawn an additional card this turn, this additional effect kicks in. You may discard a card if you do play a card from the lineup with cost 4 or less at the end of the turn. At the end of turn, return it. Jesse Quick, plus 2 power, Speedster. You may put up to 2 cards from your discard pile on top of your deck. Okay, that's pretty good. Kid Flash, Wallace West, excuse me. Plus 1 power and draw a card. Confrontation, Speedster. Put up to 2 cards you discarded this turn from your discard pile into your hand. Put up to 2 cards you discarded this turn. Interesting. That's interesting. Max Mercury. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. So would Max Mercury Speedster himself, since you draw cards from him first? That's a good question. I'll have to look at that again. But plus 1 power for each superpower you play or have played this turn. This is the Flash J. Garrick. Hero plus 3 power Speedster. Look at top 4 cards. Look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck. Discard any number of them and put the rest back in any order. Look at top 4. Huh. There's no reason you'd want to not look at all 4. Kid Flash, Wally West. Draw 2, Speedster. You may gain a card from the destroyed pile. I would assume that since those effects say draw, that it'll trigger their own Speedsters. That's my assumption. Negative Flash, plus 2 power. If you destroyed a card this turn, draw a card. Speedster, you may start a confrontation. What? So you don't have to decide at the beginning of your turn. Wow. Wow. That's pretty good. Reverse Flash Daniel West. Villain, +2 power. Speedster, +1 power. Defense. Discard this card to avoid attack. If you do draw, you may destroy a card in your hand and or the lineup. That's nice. Godspeed. Villain, +2 power. Destroy a card in the lineup and in your discard pile. Speedster, +1 power for each Speedster card in the destroyed pile. The Black Flash. Man. Villain, +3 power. Attack. Each foe discards a non-weakness card. Speedster, each foe that fails to avoid this attack must choose a Speedster card if able. Okay. And then Zoom. Villain, +3 power. Destroy the top 2 cards of the main deck. Speedster, you may play a card from the destroyed pile. If you do, choose a foe to gain that card. Huh. Interesting. Oh, man. All right. Well, that's all the cards. Well, that's all the ones that I'm going over. Because there's a lot. There's a lot of these cards, man. Let's do. Nope, that's not what I want. This is what I want. So, all right, guys, I'm tired. I need to go get some sleep, even though I have stuff to do, but I am kind of tired. So, thanks everybody for hanging out. This was another long stream. Not as long as last week, but I wanted to at least show you guys some of these cards. So thanks everybody for hanging out tonight. Appreciate you all. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some more Lorcana news this weekend and early next week. And yeah, we're this weekend I'm going to be sitting down and figuring out. We're probably going to be recording some more Lorcana videos that are going to be going live. They're going to go live. I need to turn. Which one do I turn down? I need to turn that one down. They're probably going to be going live soon, maybe even this weekend. I know I've got a couple videos that are going to be going live this weekend, and then some hopefully early next week too. So that's what we got for today. That's what we got for today. Thanks for hanging out. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time we stream. So thanks everybody. Well, as you can see, I'm tired. So all right, thanks everybody for hanging out. We'll catch you in the next video. See you, everybody.